All right. Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. This meeting of the Lake Oswego City Council is now called to order. Ms. Linder, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Buck.
Here.
Councilors Rapp.
Here.
Corrigan. Here. Afghan.
Here.
Wendland.
Here.
Burdick.
Here.
And Imbu.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Now, everyone, will you please stand, remove your hats, and join us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to start this evening with a few proclamations for the month of March. The first is Women's History Month, in recognition of the invaluable contributions, achievements, and resilience of all women throughout history. This March, we celebrate Women's History Month. This year's theme is Empowerment Through Unity, celebrating diversity and inclusion, and it serves as a reminder of the strength found in solidarity and power in celebrating our differences. As we honor the legacies of women who have blazed trails and shattered barriers, let us also reaffirm our commitment to fostering environments where all women, regardless of background, can thrive and succeed. So this month of March, we encourage all residents to unite in paying tribute to the legacy of women from diverse racial, social, and ethnic backgrounds who have made many contributions to the economic, cultural, and social fabric of our society and our local community. And we also, timely for this evening, since we're going to be looking at our update of our ADA plan this evening, but it is also Disability Awareness Month. And the city of Lake Oswego designates March as Disability Awareness Month. It provides an opportunity for us to recognize and celebrate the unique talents, contributions, and experiences of individuals with disabilities. This year's theme is A World of Opportunities, highlighting our commitment to celebrating people and working together to remove obstacles, thus creating a world where everyone can do well and succeed. By fostering a culture of inclusivity and accessibility, we can build a community that's dedicated to removing barriers and creating pathways for individuals with disabilities to thrive and reach their full potential. It is imperative that we continue to advocate for equal rights, access to education, employment opportunities, and full participation in all aspects of society for individuals with disabilities. So we resolve that the Lake Oswego City Council proclaim March 2024 as Disability Awareness Month in the city of Lake Oswego. Let us seize this month to deepen our understanding, extend our support, and reaffirm our dedication to fostering a world where every individual has the chance to thrive. During the month of March, actually a week in March, March 18th through 24th, is National Drug and Alcohol Fact Week, which is an annual week-long health observance that inspires dialogue about the science of drug use and addiction among youth. This week is coordinated by the National Institutes of Health Institute on Drug Abuse, and it carries many federal and local government partners. The week provides an opportunity to bring together scientists, students, educators, healthcare providers, and community partners to help advance the science and address youth drug and alcohol use in communities and nationwide. And I'm really honored tonight to have two students from Wesleyan High School, both named Jonathan. Jonathan 1, Jonathan 2. Why don't you both please come forward? These two are part of a club, a student group within the high school called the Teen Advisory Board, and I had the opportunity the other month to join them and talk about my own path in recovery, and it was great to be with you all. We took some nice photographs and had a good conversation, and I really appreciate the chance the both of you to be here tonight as we honor this week. So please introduce yourselves, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Beldman. I'm one of the TAB leads.
I'm Jonathan Garcia. I'm the TAB president.
We students with the Teen Advisory Board Club at Wesleyan High School, an initiative of the Community Living Above, which was the organization that brought Harmony to life, are here tonight to introduce our club and ask you to partner with us to bring awareness to youth substance use prevention during the National Drug and Alcohol Fact Week of March 18th to the 22nd.
Today's club has 150 students plus who participate and are dedicated to bringing awareness to substance use prevention through education, helping ensure young people know how and where to access resources and support. We collaborate with our peers at the Westland community to raise awareness, educate youth, adults, and promote mental health wellness. We do this through monthly lunches at our school, where we host speakers like Mayor Buck, and through events and activities in our community. The goal is to ensure our peers have the information they need to support and keep themselves safe while being able to share information that can help support friends, families, and the community.
One of our annual prevention events is the National Drug and Alcohol Fact Week. The week allows us an opportunity to share facts about drugs, alcohol, and addiction with the students at Westland High School in the community of Westland and even into the Clackamas County and our state.
If you want to learn more about ways to participate in Fact Week, you can follow us on Instagram at Westland High School Tab and share our posts to bring awareness to your community. You can also bring awareness to the LO community with a proclamation issued by you as an official designation of the awareness event in Lake Oswego. The proclamation is one of the ways the City of Westland participates each year. They also share the week-long event via their newsletters and social media pages.
Thank you for inviting us here tonight to share our club with you. Our communities need help and support, and together we can bring awareness to substance use prevention, education, and help be a part of the change that young people like us need to thrive because prevention is the cure.
Right. Thank you both very much. Thank you for
you.
being here. Thank you for being brave and coming forward and speaking up and for the leadership you provide amongst your peers. It's very important. We appreciate you both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to give recognition to the adult leader of the club, Pam Pierce, who grew up here in Lake Oswego and is the co-founder of Harmony Academy, which remains the state's only recovery high school, which of course is a part of our Lake Oswego School District. Thank you, Pam. Thank you for being here. And we'll post all these proclamations on the city's website. Next on the agenda is the time we have set aside for public comment. But do we have anyone signed up? Is there anyone here who would like to provide public comment? Okay. And with seeing none, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Tonight on the consent agenda, we have item 6.1, which is approval of meeting minutes from January 11th, 16th, and the January 30th retreat and special meeting. We have item 6.2, which is resolution 24-09, resolution of the City Council authorizing application for a local government grant from the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department regarding Rassekh Park Phase 2. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Move to adopt the consent agenda.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0. Now we have for councilor approval only, resolution 24-13. This is a resolution of the city councilors of the city council approving the appointment of an alternate to the Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resource Advisory Board. Is there a motion to adopt resolution 24-13?
Move to adopt resolution 24-13.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0 with the mayor's abstaining. Okay, and now moving into public hearing. This is resolution 24-05. It's a resolution of the City Council adopting the standards and procedures to be used in the hiring of a municipal judge. Ms. Osenak, will you please read us the hearing procedures before we begin?
Thank you. Now is the time set for this public hearing. This public hearing involves a legislative policy decision within the sound discretion of the City Council. The public hearing process will begin with a presentation by staff, and testimony, if any, will then be received from the public, subject to the time limits set forth in the agenda. I need to ask now if any councilors have a financial conflict of interest regarding this item.
No.
Observing none, we are ready for the staff report.
Good evening, Mayor Buck and Council. My name is Megan Phelan, Assistant City Manager, and I'm here before you this evening to walk through the process of what we would propose would be the recruitment for our next municipal judge. As Council is aware, Judge Shepley has announced his retirement for later this year. And as part of our process, the public meeting law of the state of Oregon allows for the City Council to consider the employment of a municipal judge in executive session if the city has advertised for the position, adopted procedures for hiring, and provided an opportunity for public input concerning the employment of the municipal judge. After that has been completed, the City Council can then meet in executive session to review and interview candidates. Resolution 24-05 has been drafted for City Council's consideration and outlines the standards and procedures that would be used in hiring a municipal judge. Not to go over every detail of what the resolution states, but in summary, the hiring process would begin by advertising for the position to solicit applications from qualified candidates. The advertisement for the position will be based on the essential functions and responsibilities and on the minimum qualifications as outlined in the job description, which was part of the packet you received. A list of semifinalists will be prepared by the Human Resources Director and will be put forth for City Council's consideration. Council would have the opportunity to interview selected candidates and do any other meetings as needed, as well as a comprehensive background check. Once a final candidate has been tentatively identified, they will be appointed a municipal judge in an open public session. It's important to mention that throughout the process, the city will honor the commitments of confidentiality of candidates to the fullest extent possible and within the requirements of Oregon Public Meetings Law and Public Records Law. The standards and procedures for the municipal court judge are provided as a draft, but of course may change based on testimony you might hear in tonight's public hearing. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Phelan. Is this resolution and procedure similar or identical to that which we use for the interviewing for a city attorney in the past for city manager position?
Yes, it is, with the major exception being that for the other two charter officer positions we've had the opportunity to hire in the last few years, we've deployed the services of an executive search firm. Given the nature of this recruitment, the recommendation for this particular position would that be handled internally by the Human Resources Department.
Great. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Phelan? Okay. Thank you so much. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. I'll ask if there's anyone here who would like to testify this matter. No? No? Okay. And then we're going to close the public hearing. And would someone like to make a motion on Resolution 24-05?
I move to adopt Resolution 2405.
Second. Oh, Trudy?
Yeah, second.
Oh, golly gee. Okay. Well, okay. Seconded by Councilor Corrigan.
He's spreading it around.
That's good. Is there any discussion?
Mayor, if I may, I wanted to make
Okay.
one more comment and also to directly to your question you just asked. In the past, although council was involved in the interview process, the mayor was the point person for the Human Resources Department for any questions related to the recruitment. And that would be my assumption in this case, unless council advises otherwise.
Is that okay with everyone? Okay.
Hiring good people so far, so it's gonna be working.
So good. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Phelan.
Wait,
All right. Councilor.
just so I understand that completely, so we still have a full interview, right?
Yes, absolutely. This would be things like the final review of the job announcement before it gets posted.
Oh, right.
Any
Okay.
negotiations that would happen between the final candidate and the mayor would act as representative of the full council. But of course, any appointment agreement would come back in full session for full council vote and consideration.
Okay.
Great, thanks.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Phelan. That's great. Okay, now moving to council business, item 10.1. This is the considering the purchase of advanced meter infrastructure, AMI, system materials. We had previously scheduled this for our January 16th meeting, but it was delayed due to the ice storm, so it's been rescheduled for tonight. We're glad to welcome dedicated members of the Public Works team who are intimately involved in the ice storm work and the recovery. We appreciate all of your team, your work and your team's work, Director Rooney and Mr. Van Buren. Welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Councilors. As mentioned, we're here six weeks or so later than we had anticipated, but nonetheless, the message is still the same. We want to talk to you about the continuation, basically, of the advanced meter infrastructure program that we started here at the city many years ago, and Eddie will go into the details on that. But really, we wanted to take this opportunity to ask for the extension, but also to inform some of you who may not have been here when we started it, and also for the general public to hear a little bit more about it, because more and more people in the community are receiving these devices, and eventually we'll have the whole city on these devices. It's a great thing. We're very excited about the program. And I'm going to turn it over to Edward Van Buren, who's going to give us the details on the program.
Yes, I made this PowerPoint presentation some time ago, so I've practiced it a few times. Hopefully it's gets all the key points. Just a quick overview of the agenda. It looks like a lot more slides than you might think, but first and foremost, good evening, Mayor Buck, Council. I appreciate your time and attention tonight to discuss AMI. Just to run through it, I'll give you a quick update of the background on the project. As Director Rooney just said, we'll review what AMI is again, because some folks might not be totally in the loop as to what it even means. We'll provide some progress to date, some next steps and why we're here, and then a sole sourcing request, and then a little bit of an overview over the cost of the project. Again, I think you all are aware there's more information and details within your council reports that I hope were provided for you. Some background. Back in July of 2019, a group from Public Works came forward in front of council and made a request to move our meters towards the AMI system. That project was estimated to be a roughly 3-year project, and at the time it was approved by City Council. Something happened after 2019, I think everyone is aware of, this little thing called a pandemic, and it caused significant logistical issues as well as operational issues within Public Works. So the project was put on the back burner until it was restarted in the winter of 2022. So what is AMI again? This is actually the original image from the 2019 briefing. It stands for Advanced Metering Infrastructure. It's a fancy word for smart water meters, essentially. So if you look at the diagram in front of you, down in the bottom corner, you'll see roughly a 1-inch residential water meter. It's a smart meter. It connects wirelessly to a collector or an antenna that we have strategically placed at higher elevations within the city of Lake Oswego, about 3 of those locations that covers the entire city. And then that wirelessly transmits information back to the city, and it connects directly to our Tyler Encode, which is our financial software for our utility billing department, and it also provides a interface for our customers directly that's available to them at 24/7 via web or phone application. So this is a snapshot of essentially the customer portal that the residents that are on our water system could see on a daily basis. It overviews consumption and billing information displayed nearly in real time for our consumers via this Neptune consumer portal. And again, as I mentioned, it's both web-based, but also there's an application that you can download too. Some of the benefits of this really are increased monitoring for not just the city, but also customers. This is, like I said, near real-time information, but also historical information looking back at hourly, daily, monthly, and yearly consumption rates. So you know if you see a spike, there's an ability to set up alerts for real-time leak detection, high flow monitoring. Essentially, if you have a leak, this system is able to let you know and the city know at the same time. And you can set up these alerts via that portal. Another thing that we'll see start to transition away, some of you might enjoy seeing the meter reader on the moped that zips around the city and manually does meter reading right now. This will take away that contracted role that we have outside of the city. It's actually not a city employee doing that. That'll go away, and all information will now be via wireless real time for the city and customers alike. Another thing that, in a maintenance side of this is that we're updating all of our meter infrastructure. Essentially, all of our meters, 11,700 of them, will be brand new AMI meters as of starting from December of 2022. So it's great for maintenance to refresh our meter infrastructure within the city as well. And then another aspect of this to consider is our conservation efforts. Every gallon that we pull from the Clackamas River, it needs to be accounted for, essentially. So we do have water loss that happens every year. This is going to give us a more accurate picture of leaks in real time so that we can be proactive in minimizing our water loss, helping us reach more sustainability goals as well. So progress to date. As I alluded, in December of 2022, we went into the contractual process with Olson LLC, who is doing our installation. To date, they've actually installed roughly 70% of our meter infrastructure. That's around 8,000 meters of our 11,700 residential meters within the city. But like that, no project is without issues. So at this point in the project, we're seeing two pretty key issues that we need to address. The initial meter numbers that were proposed in 2019 did not take into consideration some new and redevelopment areas within the city. Also, it didn't take into consideration new and old meter damage that happens in the installation process or just naturally occurring. And it also did not take into consideration on-hand quantities for us to store at maintenance to be able to keep these meters up operational efficiently. Another thing that has come up is that a lot of the old lids are metal or concrete, and they cause direct impact on the wireless connectivity between the collection and the meter device. So we are proposing also moving towards a more plastic composite lid that we can fabricate and lasts longer and allows more efficient wireless connectivity. So next steps and why we are here. Something noted in the 2019 council briefing was that large meters, 1.5 inches and greater, would be changed as resources permitted. To be more specific to that quote, it was that large meters will be changed out as funding and staff time allow over the next 3 to 5 years. So what are large meters or industrial meters? If you see the photograph, it's the middle, I would say ornamental, beautiful looking meter in the middle there, the gold one, is the larger industrial meter. These service a lot of our businesses as well as apartment complexes throughout the city. We have approximately just under 600 of these larger meters all around the city, makes up about 6% of our total meter infrastructure in our network. What do we need to do to complete this project? Right now, we need to increase our on-stock residential meters, like I mentioned. We need to procure our industrial meters, which is essentially phase 2 of this project. We need to procure better meter lids to make sure we have efficient connectivity. And then we need to amend our installation contract. So how will we do that, you might be asking? So the key reason for coming in front of you today is to request that we move forward with a sole source with Core and Main, the original contractor that we used in 2019 for this meter infrastructure. Why a sole source? Well, in 2019, Core and Main did go through a pretty significant RFP and competitive process, and they were selected. And that's great, but we also essentially tied ourselves to them because they are the sole source for Neptune meters in the state of Oregon. And on the positive side, as we move forward with this, all of these new industrial meters that we'll bring into the network will tie in seamlessly into the network, which is great. But rest assured, we do meet our ORS requirements because this is, we do require compatible goods. As I mentioned in the previous slide, the goods are available only from one source, and the contract terms are advantageous to the contracting company, which I'll discuss briefly on the next slide. Cost, advantageous to the contractor. Like I said, the initial estimates that we got from Core and Main, they're giving us cost averaging 18% below market cost. So we're actually getting a very good deal on these meters. Might not seem so, but it's a great deal. The total request for the meters and materials to move forward in phase 2 is approximately $1.9 million, and that will cover our residential, industrial meters, materials, lids to complete the project. And then I just put as a note on the bottom there that we will amend the installation contract. That's not what we're here to discuss today, but that would roughly cost around $145,000. And we've already coordinated that with the installation contractor, and they're ready to take this on should this be approved by you all. Everyone sees $1.9 million. Everyone says, what do we have to give or take away to be able to move forward? But the good thing is that funding for this is through surplus revenues that we identified in the water fund. Particularly in the spring of 2023, it was warmer than usual, so it resulted in more water use than normal. Therefore, it increased our ending fund balance beyond estimation for our biennium. Bottom line, it will require no rate increases, and it will not impact any future CIP projects. With that, are there any questions?
Thank you so much for the presentation. I was curious if our water infrastructure partner, Tigard, are they also switching to the AMI?
Yes, as a matter of fact, they're in the process of doing some pilot pilot programs on it. So they haven't done it nearly to the extent we have. They're looking at a different system, but the same concepts.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, I'm just curious. Councilor Raff.
I realize that these questions now are probably not the right time to ask questions. Probably should have asked them a while ago, but I'm going to ask them anyway. Do these meters, while they give, they send a signal back to the city to monitor the water and measure the water, is there any capability of these devices shutting or turning the water off via that same signal?
I don't believe so.
No, I do not
No.
believe so.
Great.
No.
Good answer. Okay. Second question, final question is, does our contract, I forgot the name of the company that you're, something in Maine.
Core and main.
Yep. Does our agreement with them grant them access to our homeowners' water usage data or any other data?
Not that I'm aware of, no, not core and main. And that would
May I
be
request that
Neptune.
you just confirm that?
Absolutely.
Core and Main provides the devices, and the Neptune technology is the interface that gets that data and gives it to our Tyler system.
Okay, so what I would just kindly ask is check both of those agreements and make sure there's nothing hidden where, you know, in exchange for them being clients, sometimes they can sneak in language that gives them access or to keep the data, and that could be a confidentiality problem for me. So
Understood.
that's it.
Good question. Thank you. Councilor Booth.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. My first question is, I'm glad that they reduced 18%. Do you know why there's a reduction of 18% of?
That was cost, just a reduction, price reduction in 18%.
Okay.
Price reduction on the individual industrial meters.
And also it's almost the same question, the vulnerability of the system. Is there like possibility of hacking? Are there like a firewall that protect, because, anyone can go to a house and probably trigger something and the water is coming. Like, you have ghost in your house, you see, it's kind of possible, I think. You are the technician, how?
I will get all the technical information to provide to you all as soon as possible, but I would assume, yes, that it's firewalled and protected. But
Yeah, and honestly, it's a very good move. I love this, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And the city, I noticed, has been sharing out good information on how people can sign up. And there's a lot of people I don't think know it, but it's been put out there more, and those alerts are very helpful. I think I was on one of the trial homes initially, and I feel like I've had it for a long time. And it's been great. I mean, it is so useful, and the leak detection really works. That, I know that's outside of this, but that contract with Olson for the installation, that's for the remaining residential and the commercial meters?
they're already under contract for the residential meters. This is just to add the industrial meters to that contract.
Gotcha, okay, okay. All right. Councilor Afghan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Approximately how much is for the lids that need to be replaced?
Have that information. There's various sizes, but I would say lids are roughly $500,000.
And these lids, did they come with the meter, or did we buy accessories and add to them?
It's an accessory, correct. So there's the meter itself, and then the lid is, it's not necessarily tied to the meter, or it doesn't need to be specifically tied to the meter. It's just more able to be fabricated and just increases that wireless connectivity. But we've looked regionally and nationally, and the rates that we would get for these lids are right on par with the market value.
Okay, thank you.
And is that compared to the old kind of, I don't know, were they concrete or were they old lids, or is that compared to the lids that we had been replacing these new meters with?
Yes, yes, yes. So we had on-hand meter lids now that were the old materials, a mixture of metal and concrete.
I see.
And this is a composite plastic, essentially.
Right. We've been putting composite plastic with the new meters, right? They have a little.
In most cases, yes, and this will allow us to continue.
I see. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. All right, Councilor Wendland.
I thought we were talking about the little tiny flapper lid on top of the tank. Are we talking about that whole?
Yes, the meter box lids.
Box.
Yes,
Box.
yes.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's not the little cap. No, 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 no. It's- yeah,
Councilor
yeah, it's
Whitland.
the bigger one. It's about the size of this, right here.
So because this is sole source and Neptune owns the technology for Oregon, what happens, I mean, if they go out or if they decide to be like Microsoft and just start charging, they have a monopoly, huge fees, I mean, user fees, I mean, they start to take our, the advantage of having a monopoly. Is there any risk in that, or is that, I mean, are we charged by Neptune like a monthly fee, or?
Correct. It's like a subscription fee essentially
Right.
for ongoing service support.
Software.
And so there's really, if they take it and triple it, we're just basically screwed. Is that correct? Or is there other, I mean, we can't use a different system. We'd have to replace everything. Is that correct?
The meter infrastructure, I believe you can change the software that supports, but it's already in the Neptune network as a part of the process. I'd have to go back and look at the contract and everything like that about rates and stuff. I can't.
I mean, I just look at vulnerability on,
Yeah.
not that I'm glad we're on one system. I mean, because I think it'll give a lot of operational efficiencies, but I just worry about any time that you have a monopoly like that and they hold us to the fire and you know, if they turn out the software, then the city won't be collecting any money because we won't know how much water people are using. Is that correct?
We could always turn back to the manual reading as
You
a
could still
fail-safe.
manually.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just to only, so we could go back to manual reading very quickly if that was
okay.
the case.
So we're going to keep the scooters? No, I'm just kidding. Oh, okay. thank you.
Possibly.
E-bikes.
Okay, good question. Good questions. Okay. Thank you both very much for bringing us the presentation. Very helpful. It's good to see this moving forward to completion. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the sole source findings and authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Core & Main LP for the purchase of the advanced metering infrastructure system materials for $1.9 million?
I move to adopt resolutions 2410 and 2411.
Second?
Well,
That's the next agenda item.
Yeah.
That's 20, yeah.
There's no, well, there's, no, there's not, no resolution on
That's
this.
the next agenda item.
We can just
Says,
Oh, you,
oh,
we have
The
the,
motion is to approve the sole source findings and authorize the city manager.
Right.
Mayor, do you want to make that motion?
Counselor Rafferty?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, go.
So, and is there a
I'll
second?
third it now.
Yeah.
Oh, was there a second? Well, you were the second? Yes. Counselor Wendland, okay. Any further discussion? No. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Director Rooney.
very
Thank
much.
you, Mr. Van Buren. Appreciate it. Next time, we do have resolution, our consideration of Resolution 24-10. This is a resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of a financing agreement, escrow agreement, and related sale documents, pledging the city's full faith and credit to the financing payments due under the financing agreement, authorizing the execution and delivery of the City of Lake Oswego, Oregon, full faith and credit obligations, in one or more series, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $16.5 million to fund a portion of a wastewater treatment facility project for the city and for payments of costs of issuance of such full faith and credit obligations. Also designating authorized representatives and delegating authority, declaring an intent to reimburse, and related matters. And Resolution 24-11, which is a resolution adjusting the budget for the biennium commencing July 1, 2023, approving resources and requirements, making appropriations. Here to present these resolutions is Finance Director Sean Cross. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilor. I'm Sean Cross, the Finance Director.
Is the ways.
And I move to accept, no, I'm just kidding.
So this will be the first of kind of debt issuance for the project. This is really for the acquisition of the 3 properties down there and for the initial design work that's been done. And then the resolution or the budget adjustment is really just for the $16.5 million to be put into the budget.
Okay. Thank you. Update.
Yeah,
Is, because of where we're at with the wastewater treatment plant, if we were to, for whatever reason, not move forward or to change directions, how would the issuance of these, how would that impact the fact that we have already issued these bonds?
The impact would be about a little over $1 million a year in debt service for the properties. We would then own the properties.
Right.
And we would probably need them as part of, possibly, if Portland was to do an expansion of their plant or redoing their plant, we would probably still need the same properties.
Right.
So
even if the project itself is delayed past, what we think, we have the revenues to pay.
yes, yeah, we currently have, or I should say, the model that we've been working on to make sure that we do have the funding for this is we have this debt issuance, we have the following one for the plant, we have the kind of the draft of what Portland would be paying us and cash flow for the plant.
Right.
And it all kind of works. But yeah, if we will be able to continue to pay these payments on these properties.
Regardless.
And a lot of that has to do with when I was refinancing the 2009 and the 2010 bonds. That allowed a little bit of cash flow to be able to pay for this.
Okay. Thank you. Councilor Winlet.
So what, do we get an advantage in rates?
No. Right now, we're kind of at a disadvantage with rates. Usually at this point, we would probably do like a line of credit. And then we would, because the short-term rates would be much lower. But right now, the rate curve is inverted. So we actually get better rates selling 20, 25-year bonds than if we were to do a 1-year or 2-year or 3-year line of credit. The rates are actually lower to just in 3 years do it at that point. Because usually, out of about 20, 25 years, rates don't change a whole lot. We're still paying between 3% and 4%.
Right.
But if we were to do like a 1-year or 2-year, we'd probably be paying like 5%. So.
And when we would issue these, we can get 3 or 4% money?
Yeah, that's, we're estimating, yes, based on what we just did 6 months ago, which was right under 4%.
Right, okay, good.
Thank you, Councilor Winlet. Councilor Booth?
Yeah, I was reading, I want to confess that I was lost. I really don't understand, how do we sell those bonds? How?
Okay.
We are opening over there in Washington, can you explain,
Yes.
in a lay person? Yeah.
Yes, so we end up, we hire a financial planner to help us with the selling, and we also have bond counsel, some lawyers. They help us sell them to a large bank in an open market, and they bid. So we'll go out to bid, and then it'll be like Citibank and big, huge national banks like that. They'll bid on them. We'll sell them all of the bonds. They're like different series. So if we do 20-year bonds, it'll be 20 series. If we do 25-year bonds, it'll be 25 series. And so they buy of those, and then they sell them to investment. Well, they keep a lot of them, I think, or they can sell them on the secondary market out to investors. And so we're basically selling them to a large bank who then will pay us. And then it's just out there for the next 20 to 25 years.
Yeah, thank you.
Good question.
And
Good
you
question.
too might be able to buy some bonds from Oswego.
Okay.
Maybe not.
Does anyone have any further questions about it? Yeah, Councilor Corrigan.
So I understand this is, you said a series of four bonds, 4 financings?
At least, yes. So there'll be at least one for the acquisition. Then we're working on trying to keep the WIFIA loan. So that'll be another one that's a loan from the EPA. But that's only like 49%, up to 49% of it. So then we'll have to do another financing, another one of these financings for the other 51% of the, and then there'll be the the old plant will have to be, yeah, the remediation of the old plant.
So that the maximum we can use the WIFIA loan for is 49%, and that must be some kind of a subsidized rate, because I think that was one of the reasons why this made sense. How much better is the WIFIA rate than going to the market like we are right now?
It's not so much the rate. The rate will be like if it's for 35 years, they'll look at the Treasury at the 35-year roughly, and that's what we'll get that rate. It's that we're able to shape it. And the idea here is we're trying to keep rates at that 3.9% rate increase. And so we are actually able to push a lot of the WIFIA stuff off for 8 years, like the 3 years during construction, and then we can not do it for 5 years, not make any payments, and then start paying. We can defer it for 5 years, and then we can start making payments. And of those payments, it's not flat. Like our payments here will be flat, or they'll be slightly increasing, like we do sometimes, by 3% to go with our, like we do for parks to make it, you know, because we're getting an increase in our property taxes. The WIFIA will actually allow us to shape that to how it can actually fit in, like to the full faith and credit. So like when the full faith and credit starts to come off, we can actually put a bulk of the principal on that. And they'll actually allow us to not even make full interest payments and do that to where we can shape it to where our ratepayers can try to stay at the 3.9 to 4% increase. That's the advantage of the WIFIA. It might cost more because we're pushing it off. It's kind of like a subsidized or like an unsubsidized Stafford loan for a college student. You know, you're kind of pushing it off and then paying it. But when you're a college student, you have no money to pay it, or you don't want to, but, you know, versus then you can pay it when you have a job. So this is kind of, it's allowing us to shape it to where we can afford the payments.
Great, that's helpful. I can see why that would allow us to break away from EPCOR, because that was one of the benefits that they were providing for us, and this sounds like a better way to do it.
And then maybe Papa Joe will just forgive the loan.
Right.
Papa Joe. We can hope.
We're talking never mind.
Councilor Rivas.
So how does this impact what Portland's doing? We're going to finance everything, and then,
Portland's paying us back. So we're kind of reversing the roles.
but we'll.
Yeah. In this
Right.
case, Portland has already given us the money for the land acquisition for their portion of it. This is really just for our part of the land acquisition and our portion, that 0 to 90% design that's been done. That's really what we're talking about paying here.
Right. So in the big picture, we hold the debt, and they are beholden to us to make sure that they could have paid to us, right?
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Good questions. Okay.
Can I move to adopt resolution 20?
Well, hold on.
You have more.
If you wouldn't mind, my eyes are bad. Before you make the motion, maybe the mayor can reread what the resolution is. Sorry.
We're at the green part where it says move to adopt resolutions 24-10 and 24-11. And I'll reread them.
There a
if you
second?
need it.
I second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. Dr. Cross, thank you very much. Okay, we have 3 study sessions this evening. The first is an update on ADA. It's our annual progress report. And here to present is Kelly Bird, our ADA coordinator. Ms. Bird. Oh, and Director Rooney. Oh, very good. Good evening.
Good evening again, Mayor and Councilors. I am very happy to be here this evening as we celebrate through the proclamation that you did earlier, the Disability Awareness Month, and really tying that in perfectly with our first ever annual progress report on the Americans with Disabilities Act. This has been a goal of ours for a long time. When Kelly came on a year and a half ago? 2 years, oh my gosh, yeah, time. 2 years ago, that's right. We said one of the things we want to do after we get the transition plan approved was to have a way to track the work that we're doing, celebrate the work that we're doing, and make sure that everyone's aware and accountable for that plan, because it is a big plan. We've all talked about this before. It's like, how are we going to do this in 10 years? Well, we might not get it all done in 10 years, but having these annual progress reports is also a way to help us all stay on track and stay committed to the intentions and the deliverables outlined in the transition plan. So I'm really excited about the work that Kelly has done, but behind Kelly is a lot of people who contributed to this, and so we're really grateful to all of the city departments that participate with her in meetings, in tech groups, in answering questions, and then at the end of the year, collecting all of this data that we can share with you this evening. So I'm going to turn this over to Kelly to do a great job in going through the highlights of the progress report for you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Mayor and City Council, for allowing me time on your agenda to speak to you today. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kelly Bird, and I'm the city's ADA coordinator. As the city of Lake Oswego strives to become a place where every individual feels safe, welcome, supported, and included, it is my great honor to present the city's 2023 Americans with Disabilities Act Progress Report. I extend my heartfelt appreciation to the city's ADA tech team, the All Ability Employee Resource Group, and the accessibility champions throughout Lake Oswego who constantly identify effective ways to improve access at the city. Finally, I would like to express my gratitude to Mayor Buck, City Council, City Manager Martha Bennett, and Public Works Director and City Engineer Erica Rooney for your steadfast leadership and unwavering support of the ADA program. Okay. In an effort to enhance accessibility for all community members, on December 20th, 2022, the Lake Oswego City Council adopted and approved the city's inaugural Americans with Disabilities Act Self-Evaluation and Transition Plan. The plan encompasses 4 key components: reviewing of all the city's programs and services and policies, evaluating the accessibility of the city's facilities, including buildings, parks, and parking lots, assessing facilities in the public right-of-way, and developing a strategic plan and tools for implementing recommended changes to city's facilities and practices. The ADA Transition Plan serves as a roadmap for ensuring that the city's buildings, parks, programs, and public spaces are accessible to everyone. Annual reporting is a key component of the transition plan's implementation strategy. The purpose of the annual progress report is twofold. Firstly, to highlight the city's effort in implementing the ADA transition plan across all departments, and secondly, to document innovative programs, notable accessibility projects, and outreach initiatives undertaken between January 1st, 2023 and December 31st, 2023, aimed at accommodating individuals with disabilities. For my presentation this evening, I will highlight some of the progress of the accomplishments that are in the report. I encourage you to take the time to read the full report as it highlights the remarkable achievements and progress we've made over the last year. Through collaboration with all departments across the city, the Office of the ADA Coordinator works diligently to ensure compliance with ADA regulations. Let's look at a few highlights. For formal grievances, we had 2 in 2023. They were filed with my office. These grievances represent complaints of alleged actions that are prohibited by Title II of the ADA. Each grievance was initiated by a community member who completed the official grievance form. The Office of the ADA Coordinator received, I have a dedicated phone number and an email address for general inquiries. More than 65 inquiries were received in 2023. Many calls and emails received were related to issues outside the preview of the city or the Office of the ADA Coordinator. Most calls pertain to accessibility issues on private property over which the city lacks jurisdiction and were subsequently directed to other resources for assistance. There were 11 accommodation requests brought to my attention. This is not a comprehensive count of all requests for accommodation citywide, as each department is authorized to provide reasonable accommodations. Okay, for staff development and training, I facilitated and/or coordinated several learning opportunities for staff to enhance their skills and knowledge. The first one, or one that we had throughout the year, was an ADA program at, like a general learning of the ADA program at the city. This equips employees with the fundamental understanding of Title II requirements of the ADA and effective methods of serving individuals with disabilities. These sessions were attended by more than 120 employees. In April, the HR department conducted a training session titled Reasonable Accommodations in the Workplace to educate staff on the process of requesting reasonable accommodations at work. The session was attended by 10 employees. During Mental Health Awareness Month in May, HR conducted a training session on the Employee Assistance Program benefits offered through the city's Employee Assistance Program. EAP provides free and confidential assessments, short-term counseling, referrals, and follow-up services to employees facing personal and/or work-related challenges. The session was well attended with 17 employees participating. Each new employee orientation includes a 45-minute presentation by the ADA coordinator. The presentation provides an overview of the city's general obligations under the ADA, how to respond to requests for reasonable modification or accommodations, and etiquette tips for serving individuals with disabilities. 2 sessions were attended by 42 employees in 2023. This is one of the accomplishments that I'm extremely proud of. In January of 2023, we started an all-ability employee resource group with the goal of fostering a welcoming and inclusive workplace for employees with disabilities and individual illnesses at the city. The ERG, we meet monthly. Meetings are for staff to get to know each other over lunch, share ideas, and plan activities. All employees are welcome to participate. You don't have to have a disability. Allies are encouraged to join as well. On the screen are some pictures of our events. We learned about Braille that was facilitated by an employee. We participated in the 4th of July Star Spangled Parade for Disability Pride Month. We took a boat tour of the lake hosted by the Lake Corporation and learned about the signs of type 1 diabetes in November for Diabetes Awareness Month. And that session was facilitated by a member of our staff who has type 1 diabetes. The feedback that I received from the group is that were positive responses to the tour of the lake experience. There was appreciation for employee-led sessions, recognition of the value in learning to be vulnerable, and they appreciate the opportunity to interact with colleagues from diverse areas of the city. I did a lot of outreach and community involvement. Throughout the year, I served lunch at the Adult Community Center and participated in community coffee talks with Respond to Racism. In March, we celebrated Disability Awareness Month with a campaign, including a proclamation, social media posts, and 2 videos featuring campaign events and how to request an accommodation. In July, we celebrated Disability Pride Month with a campaign, including a social media campaign and citywide events. That's enough about me and what I've been doing. Let's talk a little bit about some of the departmental progress. At the library director, at the library, they continue to review the areas for ADA compliance in accordance with the ADA transition plan. Staff are not solely concentrating on physical enhancements within the library, but also committed to improving programming, training, and other outreach services. The library director, the library managers, and I completed a Project Enable training. Project Enable, or last year in 2023, Project Enable provides foundational training designed specifically for public, academic, or school librarians worldwide to help them gain the knowledge and skills needed to create inclusive and accessible libraries that meets the needs of all patrons. The library expanded their Rover outreach program to include regular visits to senior living facilities. As a result of this, it increased the home delivery program, has seen an increase of 76% over the last 6 months. In addition to providing ongoing home delivery services, the library offers temporary materials by mail services where the library will mail the holds to library patrons on a one-time basis. This is only 3 of the things that they did. There's a whole long list in the report if you take a look. Let's talk about Public Works. The City Engineering Division staff continues to plan, design, and construct ADA improvements within the public right-of-way. Staff has started implementing programs consistent with the ADA transition plan. Some major accomplishments includes the completed construction of new sidewalk segments on Douglas Way, Helen Ann Street, and Boca Raton. These segments included about 45 linear feet of new sidewalks and 27 new curb ramps. I've heard a lot of positive feedback about those pathways from the public, so I'm really grateful for that. The City Engineering Department has secured significant funding for curb ramp improvements in the updated capital improvement plan and biennium budget. We're going to be having a curb ramp program this summer, so I'm really excited about that.
Kelly, can you stop for just a second? 45 feet?
Oh, 40, I'm sorry, 4,500.
Okay, thank you. I think I saw a lot of confused faces up here. And
my bad. Sorry.
I walk Helen Ann Street a lot, and it's longer than 45 Street.
4,500 linear feet of new sidewalks and 27 new curb ramps. Okay, and then also they're implementing opening caption and subtitles for all videos to enhance accessibility. Okay, let's talk about the city manager's office. The city's manager's office standardized public meeting notices for city governing bodies to include virtual meeting requests along with interpretation and accessibility accommodations. They also added accommodation request language on the citywide mailed monthly newsletter, which is the Hello Hello, as well as city volunteer applications for boards and commissions, youth leadership council, and task forces. Parks and Rec, they have been very, very, very busy. Various accomplishments and progress were made towards the ADA accessibility within Parks and Rec, including the newly refurbished tennis center, several projects at the Adult Community Center, and a new picnic shelter at George Rogers Parks, and many other ongoing projects for 2040 Park Plan. Other accomplishments include they installed a curb ramp at the Adult Community Center, providing accessibility to the picnic table that overlooks Tryon State Park. An inclusive swing was installed at George Rogers Playground, providing more accessibility opportunities. This was an actual request from a community member, so this was really great that they did that. And then they updated their activity guide on the website to a new format, making it more accessible to read. The Community Development Department ensures ADA access primarily revolves around facilitating accessibility with public meetings. To accommodate individuals with disabilities, the department offers several accommodations, including an option to participate in public meetings virtually, and additionally, assisted listening devices and sign languages interpreters are provided upon request. Some other highlights include they standardized all their meeting agendas with clear information at the top of the page on how to participate in meetings remotely, how to make an ADA accommodation request, and how to request translation services. They also created an internal resource for staff to save information about the ADA for future references. Okay, with the assistance of the city facilities manager and myself, the fire department conducted comprehensive reviews of the 4 fire stations in Lake Oswego. Action plans have been formulated to improve compliance based on the ADA transition plan. Additionally, here are some accomplishments and community involvement initiatives completed in 2023. They collaborated with Guiding Eyes for the Blind, an organization that raises and provides guide dogs for people with low vision. The group regularly meets inside the main fire station with their service dogs in training, and they put them through obstacles, distractions, and socialization. The fire department contracted with Language Line Solutions to provide personnel with over-the-phone interpreter services. And then the Community Emergency Response Team, or CERT trainings, were held at Public Works and the maintenance buildings to ensure accessibility for all the participants. Last but not least is the police department continues to prioritize effective communications with individuals with disabilities during emergencies. Here are some of their highlights. The Communication Centers has implemented a text to 911 capability for cell phones and a TTY system for hearing impaired community members, allowing them to message LOCOM and the police directly from their home devices. A TTY phone has been made available to accommodate individuals who require such equipment to make phone calls. And then also the police utilizes the language line and engages interpreters to assist community members who do not speak English and require ASL interpreters. That wraps up my presentation for the evening. Thank you for providing me with the opportunity to be a part of your agenda today. And again, I would like to extend my heartfelt appreciation to the city's ADA Tech team, the All Ability Employee Resource Group, and the accessibility champions throughout Lake Oswego. I am truly grateful for all that we accomplished together in 2023, and I'm looking forward to what we can achieve in 2024. Now I'm open to any questions that you may have for me.
Thank you, Ms. Bird. Great presentation. It was a
thank
great
you.
report. And when I was reading through it, just thinking, and you kind of touched on this, I mean, not only are you all making great changes to the, to the built environment and programming throughout the city, but just the way the program is bringing members of the city team together and touching really every department, it seems, is fantastic. And I know that this is a topic top of mind for so many. Even I was speaking to a group of kids the other week, and they were, probably 10 years old at one of the schools, and the first question out of the mouth was about accessibility from one of the kids. I thought, wow, it's 10-year-olds, and their first question is about what are we doing to make the community more accessible, and it was from the built environment perspective, so okay. But everyone brings their lived experience to the table, and this is something really supporting our community. We know when we make these improvements for one resident, we're making things better for all, and thank you for all of your work and leadership on this.
Thank you.
Councilor Raff, question.
Ms. Bird, amazing progress. Like, just in a few short years. So congratulations on all the work and commitment to the cause and ensuring that everybody in Lake Oswego feels comfortable and is able to live their best life, right? One question, the second to last slide about the TTY phone. I'm assuming that image is of our TTY phone in our comms. I'm wondering if it being in it, sitting in a drawer is the best place for it, or should it be out on a countertop, plugged in?
This is one for in the police station where they use it when they bring people in.
Okay.
But that's where they put it.
Okay, because my impression was it's for use of people who need to call for help, and so just wondering if it's sitting in a drawer, there's no one to receive that call. I don't know, I may be completely off, but.
Yeah, I think if you have a TTY at home, it's going into dispatch.
Perfect.
That is in an interview room in case somebody needs to make a call out
Understood.
from the police.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
Question. I had a question. With our new buildings we have coming online, I mean, so much of this has been the transition from how it used, to bringing things up to where they need to be. But with our new buildings, like the LORAC, the clubhouse, thinking especially in part, is there work going to make sure those facilities open according to best practices and that the programming that goes into them is?
Yes, part of the process is that we have ADA design reviews. So we have consultants that take a look at the plan sets. They're experts in this, and they give feedback to make sure that our plans and our buildings will be accessible. Yeah.
Okay. As we go forward, what can we do to best support this work? What would you say are some of the main barriers that you see? And now that you're 2 years in your position, our first year implementing the plan, what do you see in the years ahead? And what can we do to support your work?
The main barrier is money, to be honest. A lot of these improvements cost a lot of money. Most people have no idea how much a curb ramp costs. Could you guess?
One ramp?
6 figures.
One ramp.
Maybe more? 200,000.
Depending on the complexity, they can be from like 15,000 to 50,000. I mean, Erica's more of an expert on that, but a lot of these corrections take money.
Right.
And so I really am excited for the money we've set aside, but I know we're going to have to really be intentional. From the employee side, like the employee resource group, we meet, but it's a challenge because some people can't get time off from work. It would be really wonderful if our meetings could be on paid time. I know in other places they are, and then for the employees who do like the planning and things. Well, I used to work at OHSU, so I know they actually, the leadership, they would get like stipends to plan work because we're doing a lot of this work on our own time. And so it would be really nice to be supported in that way if we could do it on work time.
That's good to know.
So
thank you for sharing that with us.
But other than that, I feel 100% supported. I love it. I think, the management is totally supportive of me, and I feel great. I think that what we're doing is great. I know we can't go from 0 to 100. The transition plan sets a 15-year strategy, and we're just going, I'm trying to go at a good pace, but I definitely think we need to ramp it up to make those goals, and that's going to take financial commitment. So,
thank you. Thank you. Councilor Afghan.
I don't have a question, but I have a recognition. I thought that when I read the report, the assessment criteria were very complete, and therefore good information, good assessment has good outcome that we can address. Otherwise, it would have been rubbish in, rubbish out, So that criteria for me was the basis of our conclusions that we need to address, and it was very complete from my perspective. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Afghan. Councilor Boo.
Yes, no, thank you, Ms. Bird. I think it's a good work you're doing. I'm most interested because I am working with children and I see that these are very important things, you know. We have to do, it's money. I paid, you know, and that's why I say you work with folks who are very good planning and engineering. Myself, to respond to your question, just for the approaches in my school, it costs us $45,000 to do in order to have ADA access. And even with the bridge, we did the ADA access on the things. So these are important work, and honestly, thank you for what you're doing. And for people who know Lake Oswego, I have noticed big improvement, honestly. Like, you know, I've been here 14 years now, but you see that things are being, you know, there's a lot of progress coming, and it will take time. It's the city, but also it's the citizens, the businesses that are doing the work. You know, every new construction, if we continue this thing, you know, will be like when we say net zero, will be like all-inclusive city. Because it breaks my heart when I see that some folks, because of their disability, they cannot do certain sport, they cannot access it. Even in our schools, I always say that they're the like places where they cannot go on the bleachers or some other things. That's not fair. And I was in California, Los Angeles last month. I sent the mayor the picture on there, like the skate park. There were folks with wheelchairs skating, and that's what I want to see in Lake Oswego, that everybody is part of this city. And so, but you are doing a wonderful work. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Boo. Councilor Wendland.
You're doing a great job, because I hear the energy that you have around everywhere, and I think that's a tribute to your efforts. ADA is not exactly an easy subject for some people to comprehend and to acknowledge, and you have a good sense of, I guess, reading the room and finding out, okay, where do I start, and how can we get the language and the conversation and kind of the ideas going. And I think that's the first part, and I think you've done to Councilor Afghan's comments. I love to see kind of results on metrics that you're trying to get so that we know that we're moving forward, because I know the ADA list is gigantic and you just chip away. It's somewhat like the pathways that we have. And I guess my question is, are you working with the Transportation Advisory Board, TAB, to help identify, do we have key areas that are in the city that, I know we're concentrating on pathways for schools. I know that's a big one and it's an important one, but are there other projects that we feel like in pathways where we have a opportunity to make some improvements that can help out in that area as well? I mean, how do we make sure that ADA gets part of the conversation with safe pathways to school, if that makes sense? Is that a combined effort, or I don't know?
So the capital improvement plan has, if you will, a line item for the ADA improvements, both in curb ramps or sidewalks. It could be that, if we wanted to use it on that as well. And then, of course, we have the pathway program, council goals, and set aside funds specifically for that effort. What we do internally is we look at both of those programs. What are the priorities in them? Because the ADA transition plan specifically identifies high priority ramps and sidewalks that should be replaced. And we try to figure out the way to get the best return on our investment, and that how do these overlap? Can we overlap? Maybe we should do these lower priority ones because they're associated with the school and we can get both issues done, but we also don't want to forget that we need to do these high priority ones. So it's not, I don't have a scientific answer for you, but we are constantly looking at all of those different plans that feed into our decisions, which is the ADA transition plan, the prioritization for the schools, and then, you know, just the rest of our street fund that we have to balance with as well. And that's how we make our decisions. We look at all of them simultaneously. So we're not just doing only the high priorities in the ADA. We can't, sometimes there's other reasons that come into that for not being able to pick the highest ones, but we overlap all of those issues together to make decisions.
Okay, so it's a whole
constant conversations going on.
Right, so it's, you feel like you have a voice at the table, right?
I do.
Okay,
definitely.
Good, okay. And like everyone, it's the resource problem because the ears hear it, but the checkbook, there's only so much in the checkbook. So that's kind of the drawback.
Right, and I do sit in engineering, so I think it's really good that I'm right next to everybody, you know, and I can hear them talking, and I'll be like, wait a minute, what about the ADA? Or I sit next to the staff member who reviews public improvements, and so I'm like right in his radar. So when he's looking at it, he's making sure he's doing those public improvements. So it's really good. So yeah, I feel like I have a seat at the table. I feel like I have a voice. I do feel like people are listening. And we've been able to come up with some creative ways to get some things done in the first year. But like I said, again, we need to set aside some money for some of these projects. So that's what I'm asking for today at the meeting, so.
She has the checkbook.
I know. We got Uncle Joe.
Good luck.
But it does always help us too as we come into, because as Councilor Winther was saying, the work is so wide in scope. I mean, touches, again, every aspect of the city, and your help in helping us to identify the priorities is key in that. And so we will appreciate the ongoing dialogue with you and helping us to achieve that prioritization. Councilor Corrigan, thank you, Councilor Windley. Councilor Corrigan.
The scope of your work is really impressive in this first year, all the things that you've done and touched in so many dimensions. So my question is really the checkbook question, which is, we know what our backlog of pathways looks like. What is our backlog of, for instance, something as important as an ADA ramp? How?
About the same size, wasn't it, Erica? It's about $240 million worth of pathways and about $200 million worth of, it's not small money we're talking about. It's large money. That's why it's really great that they're trying to leverage the investments that they have.
Wow, yeah.
So it's too bad we can't click on that. It's too bad it's not live. This is a great website that is new in the last year. Again, Kelly and Katie Kirkland, our communications specialists, worked on this and have really developed this from basically nothing to this fabulous page. And on here, the key documents and reports on the lower right is where you could find the transition plan that we talked about in December of 2022. In there is a map, and if we had it, I'd click on it right now, that shows you the magnitude, and it also gives some cost estimates in there as well as and they're 4 years old now at this point, but it's a lot. It's several thousands of ADA ramps, and so just say several thousand times 20,000, and you're up to 200,000 pretty quickly. Yeah, it's a lot. That's just the ADA ramps.
Yeah, that's breathtaking.
Yeah, and ADA ramps and then sidewalk improvements. And that's not everything. That's just looking at the things in the right-of-way. Along with, there was other things identified for different buildings, firehouse, not this building, but library, ACC, things like that we are chipping away at. But the biggest expense by far, probably 50 to 1, is the right-of-way. So 200 million of right-of-way improvements for ADA with $200 million of pathway improvements. There's a little bit of overlap in there that can be done, but the magnitude is large.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Rooney. Thank you, Councilor Corrigan. Right.
We did, I will add, though, one of the things that is new in this last biennium budget is we went from $70 or maybe $100,000 a year in ADA specific line item to $700,000 a year, for which we are very grateful for.
Yeah.
I think having the street maintenance fee increase obviously helped assist with that.
Right.
And so that's a big jump for us, and we'll be coming back to you later this spring, which is coming quickly, but we want to start the ADA curb ramp program, which will be somewhat like what we did with the pavement management program, where we do a 5-year plan of having one designer on board to help us implement a number of them every summer, year after year. And so we're in the midst of getting that put together, getting a consultant picked, and then we'll come to council with you on that and have that. We'll, of course, have Kelly be a major component of that conversation and the presentation to you later this spring.
I saw it through that thank you for that, you know, obviously there's these aspects of the plan that are to the built environment that are very costly, but then in the accomplishments this year, see many, if it was simple things, larger print, you know, that make a big difference. And so working on both, we see we have a lot of strategic long-term work to do on the capital expenditure side, and then hopefully whatever we can do to continue to support your work on these kind of, I would say maybe lower hanging type fruit, but they take time, clearly, you know, to implement and to, but programmatic changes and things that don't necessarily cost anything more, but just changes to the way we do things, and that also have a large impact too, so. Thank you both very much. Thank you, Ms. Bird, for the presentation, the update. It's great, your first one. This is awesome.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you for the good work.
Appreciate it.
And thank you, Director Rooney, for as well. Thank you both. So we'll go ahead and take about a 5-minute recess and come back. I know they can't. Okay, we are back in order. Next item on the agenda is item 11.2. This is the Arts Council of Lake Oswego Program Update. I'd like to welcome Jan Wirtz, our Deputy Director of Parks and Recreation, and Nicole Nathan, the Executive Director of the Arts Council of Lake Oswego. Good evening to you both.
Good evening. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. We are here to talk a little bit about the public art in the city of Lake Oswego. As we know, it's beautiful, it's interesting, and sometimes a little bit controversial, but that's what we like, is to start conversations in the community. So here this evening is, as the Mayor introduced, Nicole Nathan, and she's the Executive Director for the Arts Council of Lake Oswego. And also our second part of this presentation is with Arts Build Community, and here to present the Public Art Master Plan update is, excuse me for just a second, Barbara Goldstein. And so with that, I'd like to let Nicole take it away.
Thanks, everyone, and happy to be here this evening. Thank you, councilors. Thank you, Mayor. This is our annual report for 22-23, and it was delayed from January, so that's why we are here this evening with you. So thank you again for the opportunity to serve the city of Lake Oswego in administering the public art program. Our accomplishments for 22-23 are summarized in the following slides. You'll see that the contract that we have is, our accomplishments are informed by the contract that we have with the city, as well as our public art guidelines. DEI is woven throughout all of our programs, events, exhibitions, and calls to artists. So for example, in our Gallery Without Walls call, it's posted internationally and locally. Committee members are tasked with reaching out to their communities as well as staff, and we distribute the call to collectives, artist groups, and grassroots organizations across the Northwest and beyond. So the programs that we work on for the city are the Gallery Without Walls programs, that's the outdoor collection, the Percent for Art projects, which a few of those wrapped up over 22-23, and we embarked upon the LORAC project. The Permanent Collection, which is the wonderful indoor collection that you see throughout the public buildings, as well as the Public Art Committee. And as Jen mentioned, last on the list, there is an update of the Public Art Master Plan, or PAMP, and we will be providing a preview of that after this. At its core, PAMP is a vehicle to gain input from the public for future art in Lake Oswego and direct ACLO's work on behalf of the city. So an update of the plan happens every 5 years or so and is initiated by the Arts Council. So as we go through the items that we work on for the city, one of those is, of course, Gallery Without Walls. So you'll see 12 new sculptures were selected to be on view for 23-25, including 2 pieces which incorporate light, and the first video piece to be part of Gallery Without Walls. On the left there, you see Melissa Cole's Inspiration and Pollination. That was selected as the 2023 People's Choice winner and purchased for the city's collection. We have a new concrete pad, which was added at 10th and C, and you'll see right there, the piece that's included there is called You Are Enough. And we actually worked a lot with Kelly Bird in terms of accessibility, because that is next to a sidewalk, and we wanted to provide for accessible pieces of artwork. And that was a collaboration between us and the Forest Hills First Edition Neighborhood Associations, which received an NEP grant. That, as we said, is currently showing a temporary piece, and that could be a future spot for a permanent piece. We expanded our selection of artists to include amazing increased diversity. The artists that were selected for 23 to 25 included 6 new artists to the program, so half of the people were new, and some of whom this is their first public art piece. The subject matter, again, was also diversified and included hope, harmony, science and the wonders of space, deep ocean life, and the human form. And in terms of materiality, as I mentioned, we're showing our first digital artwork, which is called Supernatural Delight. That is actually, you can view that in the window of the Arts Council. And 2 pieces which utilize light, Blackberry Flurricane, which is in front of City Hall, and that's by Reverend Marie Swanson, who has won a number of People's Choice Awards. And then Angler Fish by Rick True is over at the trolley stop, and that is lit at night as well. So it's a very fun one that people really love seeing. So in terms of percent for art projects, we wrapped up, as we noted, a few different items from percent for art. So one of those was City Hall, and that was the mural Miss Willie's Dream, which was completed in May and installed in June of 2023. It was recognized as part of the Juneteenth festivities, which were held here at City Hall, where roughly 300 people joined in the celebration of dance, food, drumming, poetry, inspiring speakers, and community. And it was a great celebration, and we're really thankful to both Jamie and Emily at Parks and Gillian Del Rio, who included the mural in the festivities. Yeah, so that was great. The next item that we wrapped up in terms of 1.5% was the Adult Community Center. And you will see a combination of both pieces from the permanent collection as well as some pieces that were either commissioned or especially purchased for that project. So in the middle slide there, you'll see 2 pieces by Ukrainian-born local artist Anton Pavlenko, which were purchased for the ACC and installed on the lower level. They're really beautiful landscapes. One on the right is Firehole River, that is the title, and the one on the left is a piece that he made after doing a number of studies at Tryon Creek. No Time on the right is by Ben Mefford, and that was installed in February of 2023 near the garden beds in the back to continue to activate the entire ACC site. A beautiful selection of the pieces from the permanent collection to further illustrate the themes of nature and our natural world were installed on the main level. So those artists that are included in that selection are Lori Herrick, Monica Setzel-Phillips, Carl Morris, Roger Long, Patricia Montoya, and Hans Schiebold. And those are some of the most beloved and really favorite pieces from the collection. I think they're a really great selection. In terms of LORAC, we had an update on where we were in September of last year. So we have been progressing right along through that process. The selection committee was formed in the spring of '23 and began meeting in July. The outdoor sites are shown here with permanent collection pieces slated for those areas. So the city was able to have gifted to them a number of pieces from the estate of Michihiro Kosuge, who's a really internationally renowned sculptor in the Northwest from his estate. And so those were really important and an opportunity that the city felt we couldn't pass up. And so we were going to be incorporating some of those pieces at the site in the outdoor locations. And as well as Going for Your Vision, which is a People's Choice piece that used to be located down where the gateway is right now. That will be incorporated. And that was on the request of Parks as a piece that they really love. And the RFP for an outdoor location as well as an indoor location has gone out. We finalized that within the last couple weeks. And the two sites, the indoor site is the long hallway, which connects the spine of the building. And then the outdoor location is near T1. So that's kind of behind, where would you locate T1?
Kind of behind the patio and the plaza. So it'll be kind of a wayfinding piece where people can be directed towards to begin to golf.
So that RFP has been distributed to 7 artists who were invited to respond. Those artists are Amy Jacobson, Stevie Shao, Eric Abel, Davy Barnwell, Nathan Roberts, Renee Hartig, and Mark Smith. And the committee really worked really hard to come up with artists who worked in all different kinds of media, but would be appropriate to both either an indoor or an outdoor application. The budget for location 1, which is the hallway, is roughly $26,000, and the location 2 is roughly $60,000 for commissioning site-specific work. And that includes the artist fees, engineering, fabrication, insurance, shipping, travel, and installation. The committee is scheduled to visit the site in the coming weeks to better understand the space and the site. We had a site visit that was going to be scheduled but had to be rescheduled. The members of this committee include a number of folks who are really excited to be on this. Jan is one of them. We have representatives from the Public Art Committee, Manju Bhatia, Shane Kusera, who's the chair, Lauren O'Neill, and Nan Robertson. As I said, Jan is on the committee as well. 2 architects from Scott Edwards Architecture, Kara Grothen and Jennifer Rassekh are both on there. That's been really helpful as well. Our Lake Oswego neighborhood representative is Dr. Rachel Rittman, and Tony Vandenberg from LOSD is on the committee as well. So the next thing, one of the other things that we were dealing with was there were some paint issues with the gateway piece, which you can see some lovely paint flakes sitting there, and something that we didn't really want to see at all, being only a couple years old. These were noticed, and we started dealing with this in January of 2023. Where there was paint coming off in chunks between 10 to 18 inches long and 1 to 4 inches wide across all of the uprights, so all the orange components. So we worked with the artist, Ed Carpenter, the original fabrication company, the Lynch Company that's in Southeast Portland, and the paint supplier and manufacturer Tnemic to determine the cause and the plan of remedy. So the cause actually was determined to be a contamination between paint layers, between a primer and the color paint layer, which led to a loss of adhesion. And that contamination happened at the original painting subcontractor's site, where the uprights sat. What we found out is that the uprights sat for a period of time and contaminants collected on the surface before the color paint layer. So that created an issue. The repainting plan, we worked with, again, Lynch Company. They identified a company called Reichly in Portland who does all kinds of bridge painting, pipe painting, so this type of application, and could paint in the field as well. So we worked with them to figure out, okay, how would we be able to do this? What was the timeline, means and method of completing the work? And they also are very familiar with the Tnemic paint, which is a brand of paint that's used pretty exclusively for bridges and pipe work. The repainting took place on site in June and July of this last year, and that was at no cost to the city aside from ACLO's coordination, traffic permits, and those things, since it was so quickly after the piece had been originally installed.
I heard a rumor that it was University of Oregon people that were taking it. No, I'm just kidding.
Could have been,
kidding,
yeah. Details are not
They
firm.
want it yellow and green. No, just kidding.
Right. Another item that we had to do some repairs upon was Moon over Lake Oswego, over on the Boones Ferry side of town. It's sustained cracking in the basalt, so the two uprights are basalt and then the disc on top is granite. Repairs and rehabilitation of the piece took place in consultation with engineers who work specifically with public art, and not only public art, but art that is in extreme situations. So for instance, they do all the engineering for the sculptures and the installations at Burning Man. Our conservator, who we regularly work with, Claire Dean, and the artist and his team, so Dave Hazlett and Ben Dye as well. So there was a whole long process. The basalt was stabilized and trimmed so that any damaged areas were removed. A new granite disc was sourced domestically on the East Coast, cut, polished, and shipped to the artist's specifications. 2 dry fits of the sculpture at the artist's studio took place in winter 22 as well as spring 23 in preparation for a reinstall at the site to make sure that everything was fitting together correctly and that we wouldn't have any problems when we got here to the site. The reinstallation successfully took place in May of 2023, and it looks really great. So highlights from the permanent collection. Pieces from the collection were installed in the newly remodeled tennis center in January of 2023. That's what you see on the left-hand side there, and in the middle. Bread Upon the Water, which I know is Martha's favorite sculpture, was reinstalled behind the main fire station on 3rd, and we've been working on the with beautification on the landscaping around there. We have worked with the library over the last couple months to photograph works on view and to refresh what's there, utilizing pieces in storage, and continuing to integrate pieces from storage into current buildings pending wall space. Also, in terms of the permanent collection, an exhibition that ACLO hosted September 8th through October 27th of last year featured artwork from the collection which artists responded to. So it was a call and response type setup. 10 artists were juried into the exhibition, including the artist Alice Van Lunen, who responded to her own piece in the collection, which she had made upward of 20 years ago. When she anecdotally told us that when she first made the piece, which is over at the library, she was just figuring out how to make the woven strips of textile and paper, and now she felt like she was a master at it. And so it was great to be able to have her respond to that piece that she made so many years ago. Josh Sands showed a photography installation depicting essential workers arranged in response to 100 pair of working hands by Barbara Tettenbaum. The artists who were included were Rose Covert, Michael Dodson, Andy Friedlander, Opie Heilman, Ben Mefford, Marnie Matrew, Josh Sands, Jeff Schofield, Sherilyn Sunridge, and Alice Van Lunen. And 2 pieces were purchased for the city's collection. Andy Friedlander's piece, which you see in the left-hand slide, and he responded to topographic luster, which is placed there, and then Alice Van Lunen's piece. So those were great additions to the collection. In regard to the Public Art Committee, Councilors Wendland and Verdick were our liaisons for 2023. Our members for 23-24 include all the names that you see here. We had new members added and interviewed. They were selected in the summer of 23, and they include Sarah Ledoux, Nancy Matanik as an alternate, Lynn Robinson, and Kendra Roberts. And as of right at the moment, we are working with Claire Dean, our conservator, on a basic conservation skills training program, which would be implemented with PAC members taking the lead on some of that. So we will hear, of course, much more about the Public Art Master Plan and a preview of that. So I will save those comments for then. But in summary, ACLO hired Art Builds Community, an experienced woman-led team of public art planners, to develop an updated public art plan. And we started this work a little over a year ago, and it included many of the things you see here. These are some of the events when we were at Farmers Market. Also, this activity took place at Juneteenth as part of the community outreach. Lake Oswego residents, business owners, students, and visitors provided key input that informed the plan recommendations and which will guide future public art projects. DEI, again, has been embedded in the entire PAMP process, from a BIPOC-focused group to diversity of the advisory committee. ABC was selected due to their experience as well as diversity of staff and work with community. And again, we will be hearing from Barbara Goldstein and myself shortly after that. Thank you again for the opportunity to serve the city through the public art program, and we are really looking forward to the year to come and showing you again what we're able to accomplish in a year. So thank you again.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Nathan. We appreciate it. Do you want to, are we going to hear the next part of the presentation, or do you want to?
If you, yeah, we can entertain questions and then we'll transition to the next part of the.
Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Nathan before we go? Councilor Afghan.
We love the pieces that we see around the city. And every time we have people visiting us from out of town, we walk them through downtown and show them and show off. And it couldn't be any better. I wanted you to hear that first before I ask my question, because I'm conflicted on this question. How do you see the DEI represent itself when people look at these pieces? Because the perception sometimes we get, comments we get is that Lake Oswego has money, you guys go buy the best pieces you can find and you display it. But I know that we go through the DEI selection and which artists and what do they work on and so on. But the outcome and the result, do you think it represents a DEI values?
I think we're getting better.
Okay.
We're by no means at the, we've by no means accomplished all that we would like to on behalf of the city, but I think the diversity of the artists who participate in the program, who apply to the program, and who we reach out to for example, 1.5% projects, it's growing and growing. So again, we're not, and I think when you see the applications that come in, for instance, with Gallery Without Walls, we have so many more new artists who we haven't seen this work before. We're seeing, and we're trying to also think about like, okay, what can be public art? It's not necessarily just a three-dimensional sculpture. It can be other things. So yes, I think incrementally and, as time and effort and money allow, we are getting there.
Okay, thank you so much.
That's great. That's a good question. I know that I was thinking like, I imagine the world of sculpture art, especially, is pretty small, and I don't consider myself really knowledgeable in the art world at all. But I thought, wow, even when I'm recognizing the names of these artists, one, it's great because that's what the program is doing, exposing us to these good local artists who have contributed so much, and just really appreciate what you and your team have done throughout the year. You really illustrate all the fine details that go in. Even something like a paint chipping is very complicated, or the sculpture, and so appreciate you sharing all of that. Councilor Corrigan.
Definitely.
My question is, so everybody loves art and everybody loves what they see here. So that drives my question, which is, we know that we have neighborhood neighborhoods applying for neighborhood enhancement grants to get pedestals for art. And we know that there are empty pedestals on Boones Ferry Road. So there's a call for art out into the neighborhoods. And I'm wondering, is part of the future strategy in the LAMP to figure out how to move some of this art out into the neighborhoods?
Yes, and through not only the Neighborhood Enhancement Program, we work pretty closely with Eric Olson, who oversees that program, to be able to say, okay, if you are thinking of, or you would like to have an artwork, this is kind of how you can go about that. And yes, those pads over on Boones Ferry, we have a couple ideas of what we think would be good fits over there. Because again, you have to think about, what's the situation? They are in the right of way. They are things that will be interacted with heavily by the public. So making use of those pads that are there is always top of mind. And that's something that we're looking at accomplishing over the next year.
I guess my question is there a system or a process or a plan to do that? Will that be in the master plan? Or is that kind of a one-off thing that happens?
So I guess I'm wondering if you're asking about neighborhood grants,
actually,
or
I guess I'm looking at the sculpture that may be sitting in the permanent collection that could be out there where people are asking for it. Is there a system for doing that? Is there a process? Is that going to be in the LAMP? I guess that's what I'm trying to understand.
yes, that process is embedded in the guidelines, as well as, and it lives with the Public Art Committee. So yes, those are things that we are looking at and always thinking about, okay, what pieces can we potentially put at Boones Ferry? So while we have pieces, we have a handful of pieces that are in storage, those are indoor pieces. We don't have any real pieces. We have maybe one or two that we've been thinking of that either were slated for LORAC and the committee decided that we weren't going to include them, so then those may become options for Boones Ferry.
Great. That's
So
really,
again, you just have to, what's available, what's going to be a good piece, all those things we have to weigh.
that's really exciting. Thank you.
And of course, each year we get a new piece with the People's Choice Award, and it's always nice. We can find ways, and even public-private partnerships to cite art can work too, because we're more limited in the right-of-way. I know we hear lots of calls for neighborhood art. I saw that, the nice piece on 10th, and seeing was inspired for, art. It would be a 30-mile-per-hour speed sign, and it would be art, and we put it down Iron Mountain. Great idea. It's a great idea, right?
That's not art.
Good art. Councilor Wendell.
An art speed bump, okay, I'll support you on that. I just wanted to do a call out to the arts community that all these statues take work. You saw some of the slides that talked about the restoration or the upkeep or what happens to art. Obviously not the paint thing. I think that was just a weird thing that happened with the entryway piece. But it takes a lot to maintain our art collection. And there's a lot of wonderful volunteers that love art, that have passions for this city. And they go out and they have their scrub brushes and they have their little tools and they get things all cleaned up and maintained, along with a staff that is a curator oversight. So it's not like they go out and clean things they don't know what they're doing. But it does take a lot of work, and I think that just shows how strong our art community is that they're willing not to just look, but they're willing to do the work. And I think that just, and it's that volunteer mentality that really is the special sauce of Lake Oswego. So anyway, great art lovers and great art doers. So.
Thank you, Councilor Wendell. Councilor Booth?
No, yeah, I just wanted to thank Nicole and Jen for their great work. I've been a liaison there, and I know the work they're doing and all the, I reminiscing Miss Wesley, who's also very invested in this thing, you know, that family, they, you know, in the art. So it's good. I mean, you know, art is very important. It's what will make history in 100, 200 years. All these pieces can explain how we were living and what. So it's part of the archaeology of our city. And but yeah, I would love, and I know that there are even people out of state who are interested in showcasing their art in Lake Oswego. And you know, I think it's very cool to see that you walk in Lake Oswego and see parts of this thing that we can show to our students. We've done that trip, you know, with Gallery Without Wall. So I just wanted to thank you and, you know, keep up the great work you're doing. And I love the artwork here, the one here. And, you know, it's a big addition to our city. And talking about diversity, it's something very important. I mean, I'm very proud every time I drive by and see it. So good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Moon. Okay, why don't we move to the next presentation?
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so
So my colleague Barbara Goldstein from Art Builds Community is joining us via Zoom. And both she and I will be presenting the Public Art Master Plan, both update and a preview, sneak peek at what the plan will be as we get through the last parts of it with edits and
All right,
recommendations.
can you explain to us what Art Builds Community is and what the relationship is with the Arts Council?
Yep, we will get to that, in the slides.
Well, welcome, Ms. Goldstein.
Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to let Barbara kick it off.
Art Builds Community responded to a request to develop a proposal for public art, developing a public art plan for Lake Oswego, and this is who we are. These are the three of us. Amanda Rawson is our project manager. She has a background in art history, in museums, and in fundraising. Quinn Mai Nguyen is our creative community engagement director. Her background is in marketing, event planning. She's also a poet and a musician. And my background is in policy and funding. I've been working in public art for over 30 years. I started the public art program in Los Angeles and directed the public art programs in Seattle and San Jose before starting my consulting firm about a dozen years ago. And I work primarily with cities and other public agencies. This is the process that we pursued in developing the public art plan. We worked with ACLO to develop a set of goals, policies, and objectives to guide the development of the plan, and became involved with city residents, business owners, artists, workers, community leaders to explore the ideas that were involved in developing the plan. And then we did a lot of community outreach through interactive engagement and activities and surveys that we will discuss over the course of describing this planning process. And all of these things were rolled up into creating a plan with a vision, mission statement, objectives, and guiding principles. We also had a very diverse advisory committee that we used as a sounding board as we developed the plan. This is the timeline that was involved in creating this plan. We started last January. We have made several trips to Lake Oswego to conduct our activities, both community engagement and public participation. Working with the advisory committee, we developed and synthesized a group of emerging themes then put together a draft plan, which we also reviewed with the advisory committee. And at this point, we put a draft plan forward to ACLO, and we are now presenting to you before we create the final plan.
So Barbara, if you could just go back to that slide
Sure.
previous. Thank you. So just to let you know, March through June of last year, there were a number of community-focused events, programs, and gatherings. So we were at Farmers Market, we were at the Juneteenth celebration, having those interactive art experiences that people could participate in. And then, as Barbara noted, the synthesis really happened in the fall, and themes, narratives, appendices all have been formulated over the last couple months, and we will be talking with all of you about those, excuse me, as we move toward April when we present the plan to you again.
So this is an overview of what we have been doing over the last year.
So ABC came in, again, early February. We did a lot of different things. We toured the entire city, looked at all the public art, met with strategic community groups in terms of our board members, city staff, Chamber of Commerce, the Public Art Committee, and again, in preparation for that, the PAMP committee that was constituted includes a number of different folks. So Samantha Springer and Lynn Naughton are from our ACLO board. Dr. Sue Taylor, PhD, is an art history emeritus instructor from PSU. Again, Gillian Del Rio from city staff was included. Lakeisha Washington from the school district. Matthew Call represented the chamber. Lauren O'Neill represented both Rotary and the public art community, and Councilor Rachel Verdick, Megan Big John, Anthony Hooper, Jan, all from the city, Nan Robertson from our public art committee, and Willie Poinsett. So in terms of the community engagement, there were a number of different instances and places where we were able to meet folks where they were. So you'll see, and we asked them a lot of different questions. What can public art be? Where can it be? And what type of public art and cultural art experiences would you like to see in your community? So there was Farmers Market in May and the Juneteenth celebration. Focus groups, we went over to Lake Ridge and talked with one of the high school Art 2 classes. There were about 45 students in that class, so we were able to work with them for a whole period, and that was really fantastic. Again, in June, there were BIPOC focused groups. In June, also, we had online community meetings, which people could participate in and join. And then there were surveys that went out. There were 213 surveys which were completed. And all of these were really great tools to be able to find people, not asking them to come just to us, but being able to go into the community and see where folks were to be able to ask them these certain questions. The focus groups and community presentations, there were between 25 and 35 people at each of those. Barbara, do you have anything to add to that?
No, we're going to talk a little bit about the surveys because as we developed our conversations with people, we also developed some questions that we wanted to ask in the surveys. And the first question was, what was the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Lake Oswego? The answers here are not particularly surprising. The response is fairly self-evident. People are very much associate Lake Oswego with nature and with the lake And also they have a great appreciation of it being a family-oriented place. The second question that we asked had to do with the types of art that you want to see in public places. And here we have more diverse answers. Of course, people are going to state that they are very interested in sculpture because that is the predominant art form that we're seeing in Lake Oswego now. There's also a great interest in other art forms as well, whether those are murals, functional art, events and performances, or interactive and kinetic art. All of these were things that people expressed an interest in seeing. The vision that was developed for the public art plan was a distillation of what we heard in the community meetings that we held, the one-on-one meetings, the focus groups. We developed this vision and then we presented it to the advisory committee who helped us to refine it and make it into something that really expressed what would be appropriate for the going forward with the public art program.
So in terms of the goals that we came up with as well, these are aspirational and very much forward-looking goals of the Public Art Master Plan, which rose to the top during the process. So really thinking about what are the values that we want our public art program to embody. So the first one you see there, expand community engagement with public art. How do we get even more people thinking about, looking at, responding to, and being with public art? The second point there, support local Lake Oswego artists. There are a ton of artists in our city. How do we work to support them in the ways that they need? Provide clear direction to guide future public art investments. How does this process work? What steps happen when? How is this done in the most efficient, inclusive, and logical way? So that really took us to updating our guidelines and making recommendations for those. The fourth note there, think about how art can be better integrated in city projects and exploring how we might potentially include public art in building projects and how do we incentivize developers so that it's easy to include and it's not burdensome, but it becomes an addition that makes something very much more Lake Oswego. And expand the media. In a holistic way, how can we bring different kinds of media into the Gallery Without Walls and two-dimensional collection? This takes what we do and expands and enriches it. What new media and practitioners are out there and how can we bring them here? So as we went through all of that information and distilled it, the following recommendations came from ideas expressed by city leaders, community members, and visitors who engage with the arts in Lake Oswego.
And here are the recommendations. The first one, that is to support local and regional artists, is an extremely interesting recommendation and an important one. The ways that we're recommending that this take place is that we think about, and this speaks actually also to the whole issue of inclusivity, that we promote more get-togethers with local artists and meet the artists events so that people that are living in Lake Oswego have an opportunity to actually see who the artists are and learn about their process. These goals are really, these recommendations are really aspirational. They may be things that take place over time. And so one of the other things that we were recommending was thinking about creating studio space for an artist in residence program for public art so that people can interact with an artist and learn about their process as projects are being developed. We're also recommending in the longer term that the award for Gallery Without Walls be increased from $1,000, which is more indicative of a smaller communities such as Milwaukee or Happy Valley and increase that stipend to $2,500 over the coming years. The second recommendation talks about commissioning permanent and temporary art in a broader variety of media. For example, adding multimedia work to Gallery Without Walls and working with Parks and Recreation to commission permanent and temporary interactive and playful art in parks, illuminated art on the lake is a temporary project, and functional art in neighborhood gathering places, murals on blank walls, and entries to neighborhoods and retail areas. The third recommendation has to do with commissioning art that enhances people's experience with nature. What do we mean by that? Well, it could be things like temporary and permanent art installations at trailheads, parks and trails to encourage exploration, to encourage people to understand how nature is functioning, what the history of development of trails might be. And that those kinds of projects could include things like sound and poetry. The fourth idea is acquiring art that tells the stories of Lake Oswego's people, all of the stories, and envisions a more positive future. And we're going to show you a couple of examples of what we're talking about. So, for example, on the left-hand side, you can see a slide from a temporary project that had to do with getting people to be aware of what they were throwing into the trash. It was a poetry project where high school students wrote poems about waste and its impact on the environment. Up above that is a trailhead project that has images of feathers for the birds that are in the area. And down below, a wayfinding project along a trail. Then the other point, which also has to do with inclusiveness, is really taking art and telling all of the stories with the art. So you've got a great example already in your city hall with the piece that was created by Lillian Pitt that includes references to Indigenous people's stories of nature and symbols. The next set of recommendations has to do with learning, building more informal and formal learning opportunities into Lake Oswego's public art program. So this would include partnerships between students and professional artists, building community engagement into all aspects of public art development, including Meet the Artist events when art is taking place so that people can see how the art is made, learn more about the artist process in creating the work, and audio tours that will illuminate art and artwork. For example, if you look at the Icarus piece that is downtown, that could be paired with a poem that has to do with the flight of Icarus, or just a walking tour that explains the different elements of that artwork. And then also making the map of public art more visible on ACLO's website. The other one, the sixth recommendation, has to do with expanding funding for public art programs. And again, these are aspirations. They're not things that would happen overnight, but they're things that we are recommending. So, for example, it would be wonderful if Lake Oswego would explore the idea of expanding the 1.5% for art into redevelopment agency programs. This is a very common strategy in many cities. The city is leveraging redevelopment by giving something to developers, and this is a way to get developers to enhance their projects by including art in the work that they're doing. Also exploring the idea of 1% for art in other private development. Again, this is not an unusual idea. It's done in many cities. But then the other thing has to do with building partnerships. There's a common saying that if you want to go fast, you should go alone. But if you want to go far, you should go together. And this is one thing that could be done that would expand the range of public art and the funding for public art is to build partnerships with the Lake Oswego Heritage Council, the Preservation Society, with the library to create exhibitions of local and regional artists, with the school district to build educational program into public art, about public art, and to expand and deepen relationships with Lake Oswego for Love, the Lakewood Center for the Arts, the Oswego Heritage Council, and respond to racism. The seventh recommendation is to integrate public art into a broader array of city projects. In other words, try to align public art with the city goals when CIP projects are contemplated. Also, to move ACLO's public art program into the city manager's office so that it can be better integrated with the community development department, public works, redevelopment, and continue its partnership with Parks and Recreation. And then the last point, which is very important, the last recommendation, is to update the public art policies, procedures, and guidelines. And the plan includes this update. And what it does is it looks at streamlining the public art process, better defining the roles of City Council, the mayor, ACLO, and ACLO staff, and clarifying ACLO's role as a nonprofit arts agency rather than a city department. It includes recommendations to strengthen the bonds between City Council and the artist selection process so that City Council members are represented in artist selection panels so that there's someone there in City Council who can explain how the projects came about. Did you want to add anything?
So I think in terms of, especially like number 6, we're really trying to think about how can these be made easy and attractive and additive and not burdensome. And how can we incentivize our projects and work within what's already established to be able to integrate art in a better way. For instance, the Mercado Grove project that took place over on Boones Ferry Road, they came to, the development group came to the Arts Council and said, we would like to include artwork in this project. How can you help us out with that? And so that was a good example of a partnership where we worked with them to be able to bring a piece of artwork to that development. The Hacienda project, the affordable housing project, which is happening, they have done similarly. We have spoken with them on a number of occasions to be able to integrate and include artwork within that project, talking about not only what their goals are, but what are our goals for the entire collection? What are our goals for public art in the city? So I think those create really great partnerships to be able to work on and utilize as we move forward. So our next steps that we will be embarking upon are we will be reaching out to all of you as well as key city staff members to be able to look at the details of the plan for feedback and refinement, and looking at making edits to those as we move toward coming back to you on April 16th with a more finalized draft to be able to present to you, which includes all of the things that we have noted. So it's a much beefier document. So at this point, we thank you very much for your time. And if you have any questions, please let myself or Barbara know.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Nathan. So will everyone on the council be going through a draft of the plan before it comes back in April?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's great. Does anyone have any questions? Councilor Rath.
No doubt, everybody in Lake Oswego, us included, love seeing the art around the city. No doubt. The question I have really is rooted in how our art program is being run, and what I see as too many layers, too little oversight into what's actually happening. So it starts with this. We have Ms. Wirtz, you from the city staff, okay? Ms. Nathan, you run Arts Council of LO, which is a third party. And then we're hiring out a consultant, Art Builds Community. So my first question is, how much are we paying these consultants, this Arts Build Communities? How much are we paying them?
The city is not paying them,
Who's paying them?
the Arts Council,
So how much is the Arts Council paying?
$40,000.
Over what term?
Year and a half.
Year and a half? And then, so if they're doing the strategy work, what is the Arts Council doing?
We are working to support that work, implement the work, and then be able to take the city to a next iteration of where we want the public art plan to go and the public art program.
So is ABC choosing the pieces of art or recommending pieces of art? So they take the strategy, they hand it to you, you go out and choose that art. Why can't that be done by the city staff?
I think that's a good question.
I think that my overall question is, I think with respect to our art program, I love it, I support it, but I think it needs to be, my impression is it needs to be run by the city, and it needs to have way more oversight by council. So that's my comment / questions.
Thank you, Councilor Reff, Councilor Verdick. And Councilor Verdick, thank you for serving on this committee.
Yes, and I just want to, our arts program is amazing. I think one thing when you ask people what makes Lake Oswego kind of special and unique, you hear flower baskets and the sculptures. So, you know, those are things I think that do make us very unique and we're very proud of. And so I just want to thank you for all your work on that. And again, just even walking to our buildings and seeing the artwork displayed, it truly is special. So thank you very much. Some of the things that and I know this is a draft, you're still working on it. I'm not seeing, you know, functional art, excuse me, was ranked pretty high, but I'd like to see a little more detail on how we could potentially get more functional art throughout the city. In the final plan, I think, you know, again, it ranked high, and I think there's a real opportunity for partnership on that to be really creative and just really add to our city. So I would love to see more specifics. And I know right now this is a draft, but I guess, you know, throughout, I'm not seeing a lot of specifics. And to that, I would also love to know, you know, what specific projects do you want to implement, you know, and even maybe given like 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, you know, what are we looking at doing, and what is the cost associated? Because you're saying you want more money, but one, as you heard from previous programs, you know, we have ADA, we have parks we need to finish. You know, money is not what it used to be. We also, you know, we're trying to afford, you know, get more workforce housing. So we have a lot of things. So kind of putting on kind of an extra tax, I'm not sure, I don't want to speak for my colleagues, but I know that I'm not sure that's going to work, at least for me personally. And again, I love art. I think it's really important, but we also have a lot of other big key issues that we're trying to fund. So I guess I'd like to see, you know, what projects, how much, and then rank them. You know, maybe there's certain low-hanging fruit that we want to, you know, how are we going to prioritize this to get things done? So I guess I'm kind of looking for a little more specific in this and not just saying you know, and again, it's rough, but I feel like it's just kind of saying we need more money because we have all this. I really want to drive down to more specifics on what this could look like. I'd also like to see, you know, is there an opportunity to partner more with the schools? We have some phenomenal artists in our schools, and if we can help do that, and the Lakewood Center as well, I think, you know, again, those are very natural places to be partnering, but I just feel like that schools is a missed element. I think we did touch on that, so I know you're aware of that for sure. And then I guess my final comment is, I see you're going to be back here on the 16th. Sounds like that's going to be pretty close to a final draft, or is it going to be final?
It's going to be pretty close.
So my concern is we're already May 5th, or March 5th. That's a tight turnaround for us to review a document, get it back to you, and then for you to actually have time to implement it into a final. So I'm really concerned, and we have, you have a working council. All of us have jobs. So, this is not something that we can receive, and city staff as well. We need time to review. And I'm assuming it's going to be a fairly meaty document, so we're going to need time.
And if I could add just one more question, the initial draft I saw included some funding mechanisms that may be legal in other states, but I think we're going to need to build time in for the city attorney's office to review it as well, because I think we need to make sure the recommendations are actually ones we can implement. The ones related to redevelopment and to potentially taxing private development, I have real concerns about specific requirements in Oregon law that would prohibit you from doing that. So I'd hate to have you adopt a document that hasn't had legal review.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
So those are just kind of, and again, I can say for me, like right now, even a week is not enough time for me to review a document. So
Definitely.
again, I'm just kind of looking, we're 5 weeks out, so.
Well, and we were initially slated to come to you, 6 weeks ago. So, we did have some more time built into that. And
I realize that, but at the same time, I just know some of us have been able to see what's going on, but a lot of us haven't. So I don't know that this meeting needed to dictate that reach out.
So move the second phase out a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we're not on a timeline, right, for adopting this plan? Anything specific?
No, we don't have anything specific, so we can do what's needed to be able to accommodate schedules and adequate review.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Just because I don't want you
Yeah.
guys being put in a like, wait a second, we now don't have time to implement any feedback. So that would be my concern. I just want to make sure everybody, we have
Sure.
time to review, you have time to implement feedback.
Right.
And I'm just kind of looking at this timeline right now going,
Good point.
Oh, yes.
someone's getting pinched.
I was looking at that as well. And and some of your comments and concerns, those, again, this is these are recommendations and these are vague at this point because as we get to that plan, they will have those specific examples and images. And this is what we're talking about. This is how you could work with, even down to, here's how you could work with the Preservation Society to do X, Y, and Z. So they will be very specific.
And with, this is probably early in the game, but, I know you're mentioning, you also have to see, are those groups, is that even something that they have the bandwidth to do? So I just be a little careful, just keep that in mind as well.
Right. Right, exactly. And then in terms of, as you were talking about, in terms of specific goals and/or implementation and when that would happen, that is also another part of the overall plan is a 1 to 5 year rubric, basically of like, here are the things that are short-term, medium-term, and long-term.
And thank you. I know this is kind of a lot, but I'd rather get out there kind of some of my thoughts and
Sure.
and observations, but also let you know again, there are things that really make with the arts that make our community very special, and we're very appreciative.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Burdick. Yeah, it is a good thing that we look at some of the proposals around tax on private development, because, broader context, we have the housing production strategy going on, and we're looking at a potential revenue-raising model for housing by a tax, but even the requirements on that from the state are very specific, and we're not even allowed to keep all of the money, so I would be shocked that the state would be very specific as to a tax we could put on a property or on private development for housing, but let us implement a tax for art that is, free-wielding. That doesn't make any sense at all. And it also shows the competition for the funds. So we can't add multiple taxes, and obviously housing, as much as we love art, housing is a basic human need that I think we're going to be much more likely to fund than that. So we should be looking at those things very closely if they are important recommendations in the plan, and I think that's why the conversation, the council looking at the broader context of the priorities we have going on in the community are really important. So I appreciate that comment. Councilor Afkin.
Several things were said here that some of them I echo and some of them I have a different view. First of all, spending money on creating strategy, I agree with that, because I don't know if within our organization, city organization, we have people who can strategize about art and artwork, but I know that we have people who are great at execution. I echo several things that Councilor Burdick said, especially about schedule, the duration you have. It's, I don't see that happening if you want us to look at a good quality plan. Schools, we got to tap into them. It's like that's the future generation who live in Lake Oswego, and we got to tap into them. Funding, if we have more money, we give it to you, but you got to be specific about what are you going to do with that money. And buying more art and putting them in storage, I would have a tough time to nod my head on that. I know that's not what you're going to do, but I want it to be specific that everybody comes and asks for money, and we have to balance where do we spend the money. Do we put roof over people's head, or do we make the downtown more pretty for people to enjoy? There's a balance there. Last but not least, I would like, I don't know what my colleagues think, but I would like some of the artwork, especially in your goals, maybe number 9, says that the arts that we're going to pick, they actually represent DEI. So when I look at it, it shows that Lake Oswego cares about DEI. And I didn't see that as part of the goals. Even though some of the pictures that were shown as an example, they screamed DEI, but I didn't, as part of those 8 goals that you had listed, I didn't feel that it was listed anywhere. A question, how old is our policy? Number 9 said we would like to update that. How old is it?
The guidelines have been around in various forms since the Public Art Committee and the Art Board was formed, and so that's going to be late 80s, early 90s.
And it hasn't been updated since then?
Well, it has.
Okay.
It has, but there are remnants from when the organization was a city board and commission, and so that is exactly the things that we are trying to clear up, clean up, and make more efficient, so that it adequately represents the work that we do, as well as is efficient. You don't need to have, for example, 3 different instances of saying the same thing in the guidelines. You can say it once.
That answered my question. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Raff. Councilor Woodland.
It was done on a typewriter, so that was the last version. So as many of the things we're finding like Oswego, as City Manager Bennett has found out that we had lots of things. Some things were not even written up on a typewriter. They were just handshakes, and things evolved. So that's all part of the fun. What would be helpful for me, and I understand you've talked to a lot of different groups, and it's part of the art group focus, but I would love in this report that you're going to present, have kind of like Oswego art synergy diagram, meaning there's the Arts Council, then there's the, what is it that we sit on? It's the PAC? No.
Public Art Committee.
Public Art Committee. There's Lakewood Center for Performing Arts. There is some aspect of the schools, but they're not really officially in the art scene, I would say. But it would be nice to see what partnerships we have and where I guess, what are they doing? And kind of what somewhat their output or missional direction is, and then kind of having the funding part. If there's money that, like the Arts Council has their buckets of money, and then we provide some money from the city, and Lakewood Center has money, and they're all in the arts, and then there's the Lake Oswego Festival of Arts, and I have no idea, how all these different things work. It might be helpful for us as the city council to see that, so we can see what kind of the art scene is in Lake Oswego on they call it a Venn diagram? I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. Just who's doing what, because you guys have it in your heads where you've got it all figured out. I would say that none of us could probably, well, I won't say that. I can't draw a straight line without a ruler, and I can do color and remodels, but I cannot do anything art related. So that would just be helpful within the scope of this so that we could kind of see the synergies of where the art world is. And I think that would help us make, when we redline our copies when we get it, we can kind of say, okay, here's the questions we have, here's things that kind of make sense and don't make sense. So, and I agree with my colleagues that, I think there's a lot of, as you said, there's some aspirational things in here that we all have to have aspirations, and then we have, how are we going to get it done? And then, and what we have from a staff standpoint versus volunteers, what they do. So it just would help us to have that. And I suppose for the consultants, they probably can do that in their sleep and put it all together with your help. So anyway, that's my feedback. Thank you.
I appreciate Councilor Winland's comment. I kind of had a similar one. It would, if I kind of, and maybe this is what you're getting at, we have art that takes place in so many different forms throughout the community. And the Arts Council is a big piece of that, but not all of it, but yet this plan, we call it the Lake Oswego Public Arts Master Plan. So the title suggests that it's kind of all encompassing. But of course, I'm guessing that's not really what the plan is, and about a plan that encompasses all the organizations in the community arc, right? Because it's a plan for the Arts Council, right? And so it'd be good if we see like what, but though to recognize that throughout the community, we have, as I just think of the city, so much, when I think of the Arts Council, I think of the professional art, the sculpture art. You're dealing with real, true professional artists and curating that type of, caliber of art to be through the community, and doing other things too, but that's a big piece of it, managing the 1.5%, very specific, and the Gallery Without Walls and the permanent collection. But then we have a lot, I'd say, like amateur, although some people I'm sure are professionals, type community art, whether it's our photo contest, whether it's a wide variety of youth art contests that we run, all throughout parks and different aspects of the city, whether it's Arbor Month or whatever it is, where community members are engaging in art on a regular basis. High schools, performance art, the Lakewood Center, obviously more performing art, and all of the local artists that they bring in. So it's anyway, this big ecosystem. And the Arts Council, a big piece of it, but just so maybe if the plan can show this, we recognize that all of this is going on in the community, but this plan is about this piece. Otherwise, you read it and you feel like, oh, well, where's all this other stuff? And it's just, it's not that it's not important or part of our comprehensive, guide for art, but it's just not really the Arts Council's purview. You're not running the Lakewood Center, you're not running the school, so that I think would, and is that kind of what Councilor Winland's getting at there is
Yeah, I think we just need an education on the global picture, that 30,000-foot level, but we also need detail. I'd like to know where kind of budgets are, if they have them, what kind of money are we spending as a total community? And then also, frankly, it's, and I don't know if this is politically correct or not, but a lot of art comes from very affluent people with donations. The unfortunate thing is that a lot of art in the world is donated through people that love art, and they give money to the whole art scene. And I don't. Sometimes we can't rely just on the public funding, but we can rely on what we're doing as far as fundraising. And the Arts Council has been very successful in raising money And is that something that we as a community need to help with, or, partner with, to help raise money from the private sector as well, if that makes sense? So we can be a partner in extracting money from our citizens that love art. And, it's great if you have a big donator that can donate, but it's better to have 1,000 smaller donators and doing it regular basis. So anyway, just some thoughts.
Yeah, no, thank you, Councilor Wendland. Councilor Raff.
What Councilor Verdict said about extending the timeline makes a lot of sense for me based on the comments I made earlier, and also the comments I'm hearing from the mayor and Councilor Wendland, which is, if I can put it all together, everyone's comments, I think what we need is a very thorough review of all the art that is happening in Lake Oswego, how the program and programs are being run, and what are the city's relationships with all those different entities. I think that's kind of what I'm hearing everybody talk about. And I think that would be helpful for everybody. Because as we are a high-functioning council, we're always looking at ways to streamline. Maybe things are great, maybe they can be improved. I think this is a great opportunity for that, considering that we probably have some time to kind of look at it all. So I think it's a great moment to do that.
Well, that might be a little out of the scope of this particular plan.
I don't think so. I think it's I think the opportunity is in front of us now to look at it. Because as you said, this is one sliver of the entire program of art within Lake Oswego. Are we doing it the right way? Are we engaging the right partners? I don't know. I don't think any of you can say the same thing. So just my thoughts, I think it's something we should consider.
Thank you, Councilor Raff. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Ms. Goldstein, thank you very much for joining us. We're glad to have you participate in this meeting, and thank you for your continued work on this plan, and we'll look forward, I imagine, to engaging with you as we get to interact with Ms. Nathan and Ms. Wards, and in these weeks to come, perhaps months. And we will coordinate council on scheduling that next meeting, so we have ample time to engage in this work.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Okay. Okay, we are at, it's now time for information from council.
No.
Oh, gosh.
You
I'm
have
so
me
sorry.
in right here.
I tried.
No, we saved the best for last. Come on.
That's right. Oh. Sorry. Well, he took a beating. He still has one arm. So.
Yeah,
Evan,
just
come
goes
on up.
quick.
Come on.
I'll go
He
really
was writing
quick.
the Parks and Rec
Evan, come on.
diagram. I'm just kidding.
Okay,
His
next,
arm went-
yes, I'm very sorry. My brain is half frozen. I know. We're getting ready, we're ready for the summer.
We're still
We're ready
awake.
for the summer. We start the AC now. Okay, we have the Commission of, oh man, it's a tough word. Accreditation? Yeah, I gotta just spit out. For Parks and Recreation Agencies, CAPRA. A great accomplishment for the Parks Department. Here to present to us on this, of course, is Deputy Director Wertz and Ms. Krakauer.
Thank you, Mayor and councilors. It's me again, Jan Wertz, Deputy Director.
Still
And this
awake?
is my associate, Ms. Robin.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. Robin Krakauer, Communication and Sponsorship Coordinator for Parks and Rec. And my first time up here. So
Oh, wow.
there we go.
I kind of like it up here. Okay, so we're here to actually celebrate something really important, and for the department and for the city, it's quite an accomplishment. So I just wanted to say thank you to you all for letting us present this information to you. The Lake Oswego Parks and Recreation Department joined a very elite group of parks and recreation agencies, and that happened in 2023. The Parks Department is now the 6th city in the state. Well, actually, we're the 3rd city. We're the 6th agency in the state of Oregon. There's 3 districts and 3 cities. And we're one of 205 agencies throughout the United States, and that includes military installations and other parks and recreation service providers. So What is CAPRA? You said it. It's hard to say. It's the Commission for Accreditation of Parks and Recreation Agencies. It's the only national accreditation for agencies and is a measure of the agency's overall quality. This distinction is really an indicator that we have met very rigorous standards for managing and administrating our lands, facilities, resources, programs, safety, and services. So the process of CAPRA, it was a long one, let me tell you. It was started about 6 years ago where we did a really deep dive into our operations and looked at all of our policies and procedures and started from there. The actual CAPRA process is a very formal application, and you have to do self-assessments, and then you're visited by a team of volunteers that come out, and some of you have met some of our volunteers that visited, and then they have to write a report after we do the self-assessment and they do the visit, and then we have a hearing with the visitation team, and then we have to go in front of the commission and have another hearing. So the dates you can see that are listed up to that point of March of 2023, we did a lot of assessing, researching, and creating a lot of different policies and procedures, and those were even collecting from the city itself, from various departments. But then in April, we submitted the self-assessment, and we were denied the first time. And then they gave us 2 weeks, and they said, you have to resubmit, because the way that I submitted it was I put links in there, and they didn't want links. They wanted it right there, write it all out in the narrative. So we went back and we did all that with the team, and we got it completed, and even the commission was a little amazed at that. Then in May, the visitors came, and then in June, the completion report was submitted back to us. We had a team that met with them, and they went through everything that we did right, and just a couple of little things we didn't do right. But then in October, we went to Dallas for the National Recreation and Parks Association conference, and we Ivan and I met with the couple members of the commission, and we sat and we answered questions, and then they make you leave the room, and then they come and get you, and they sit you down again, and then they said, you are accredited. And we went, yay. And so then later on in the whole conference, they had a celebration, which I'll tell you about in a minute here. So what are the benefits of becoming an accredited agency for the public? Well, what this does basically is it assures and validates that we are well administered and we're proven professionals with our practices and our procedures. We have potential for external financial support, whether that's maybe some grants or some other partnerships. And we have external recognition that we provide quality governmental service. It holds our agency accountable to the public and ensures that we're responsive and we meet their needs, and it improves customer and quality services. So then, what are the benefits for our agency? We have public and political recognition. We ask ourselves the questions of what are we doing, how are we doing this, and where can we make sure that we are improving our services and we can compare ourselves with the national standards,
and also best practices. And then we can, and it enhances and builds our team so that we're stronger, and it really brings pride into everything that we're doing, and it creates the environment for regular reviews of operations, and we have to submit a report every year to the CAPRA commission saying what we've looked at, what we've changed, how we've improved it. And then it emphasizes the importance of all the written documentation with policies and procedures and everything we do. So what did it look like for us? Well, it was 10 chapters, as you can see here. They range from authority, where we went back to old Laserfish records and found out when we were actually authorized to provide recreation services. It goes into planning. We worked with all the departments. We had to do organizational charts starting from the city council and the government actual, organization, administration procedures. We worked with HR. It had all of our policies in place on our personnel. We had to work with finance so that we would prove that everything that we do is above board. Chapter 6 was all about all the programs and activities, and had activity plans and everything, and talked about all the populations we serve. Chapter 7 was primarily about land use, about our parks, about acquisition, about all kinds of things there. Then public safety, we had to work with police and fire and go through all of our policies and procedures, make sure that we have all of the plans in order in case there's emergencies. And risk management. There was a lot in Chapter 10 was actually the culmination of everything, how we evaluate everything we do. So there was 154 standards, 36 of them are required. And then if you're a new agency, such as we were, you had to have 106 of the 118 left. But we were lucky enough, well, not lucky enough, we worked hard enough to get the 153 credits of all of the standards, which we are very proud of. So all of our evidence of compliance is located on our webpage. You can see it on the left-hand side. It'll say CAPRA. Thanks to our outstanding IT department for helping us maintain that and be able to have the bandwidth to have all the evidence of compliance. So that made it really easy for the reviewers to look at everything, and we can keep everything updated there as well. So we want to say thank you to pretty much the whole city council, city manager's office, attorneys, finance, HR, police and fire, of course our staff, engineering and planning for sure, IT as I suggested. Everyone really was a contributor towards this accomplishment. We couldn't have done it alone. It took a lot of time and effort, and I really appreciate everybody. It was like I said, it was a long time coming, but once we did it, it's something that we have to keep working on, and we will, because it's beneficial for everyone who lives here. So that is it. I wanted to tell you, when we were at the conference, we were part of the best. I brought the little program, so in case you want to see it. And we were one of, I think, 10 cities that were accredited. And then in 5 years, you get reaccredited. So we'll have to go back again, and you're in this kind of the same process all over again. We have to even get more standards, so they don't let you slide.
Wow.
So any questions?
Thank you. So now, you may have said this, I'm sorry. How many cities in Oregon have this?
3 cities, 6 agencies total. There's 3 special districts and then 3 cities. The other 2 cities are Eugene and Medford.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So.
Well, I know how much work that you all in the department put in to making this happen.
Deanna's the queen of CAPRA, we
Robin.
call her.
I know it was, I mean, and you see that, I know that it was not easy, and it just speaks volumes to the great work the department does to serve this community. The way you all work together, too, as a team, is very impressive. So my heartfelt congratulations on behalf of the team here. And
I just want to say I had the opportunity to go out to lunch with the team that came and visited, and they were two parks battle axes, you might say, of the industry. And I mean, one was, I don't know, 40 years into the career, whenever.
Yep, Pam Sloan.
And then the other one was 25 years, whatever. And they said they've been to a lot of places to tour, and this was one of the best places that they've seen. And they could see it everywhere. And it was really the high-functioning professional staff that we have, and obviously resources that Lake Oswego is able to provide. But they said it's kind of we were somewhat of a unicorn, and we were very fortunate to have what we have. So thank you to the team and City Council and everyone else for providing resources. But it's nice to be recognized.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you for this commemorative water bottle. We will look forward to hearing about this again in 5 years. Will we get a new water bottle?
Maybe a different color?
Okay.
Well, congratulations.
Oh,
I think
thank you.
Congratulations to you.
Councilor Afghan has a brief comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you go back a couple pages, down on the lower right-hand side, where we say respect, excellence, trust, and service, I consider a third-party accreditation agency saying that you have done it. I consider that an excellence that you have delivered to the city of Lake Oswego. So it's not something that we can be saying we do good, but somebody else has stepped in and said, you guys are doing very well. So congratulations.
Thank you. It's really it's about the whole city. We wouldn't have been able to be the agency we are without the support and the love from the community. It just speaks volumes.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Forrest. Thank you, Councilor Afghan. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here tonight to present this accomplishment. Congratulations again. Okay, now it's time for information for council. Does anyone have anything they would like to share? Okay, I will, the legislature, and good thanks to Madison, actually, has been tracking legislation well, spending a lot of time down in Salem on our behalf. But the legislature passed the housing, I don't think the governor signed it yet. Maybe she did. No, but it's passed. She will. The housing package, Lake Oswego is receiving $1.75 million direct allocation as part of that legislation to help offset some of the infrastructure costs related to the habitat development, which is great news. We're one of not that many cities receiving a direct allocation from that package, so it's good. Yeah, good news on that part.
So
We haven't told Habitat, but I guess we have now.
Oh, well, it was in the bill. It was in the bill. It was in the bill.
That money, just so we all are aware, that money can only be spent on water, sewer, and stormwater infrastructure, and actually their largest infrastructure costs are transportation. So we'd be trying to, the reason we haven't talked to them yet is we need to get some information about whether or not we can, well, how we're going to work. We're going to spend it. It'll be spent. They have a lot of needs, so it'll be all right, but.
Yes, but it's because we had a shovel-ready project. Yeah. Shovels in the ground, not just ready. Shoveling project. They're able to get that money, so it's great. Okay, anyone else? No? Spend it?
I just want to say a big shout out to the Public Works Department for yet another brand new emergency. I don't know that we've ever done landslides before, so I'm really grateful for the work that they did. Yeah, I know. And I think when I first saw the pictures, I thought, oh, it's not that scary. And then I went and looked at the hillside, and it's like, oh no, it's that scary. So yeah, we won't be able to fix it permanently until the rain stops. But we, I think, have it secure enough that it's safe to travel on Iron Mountain. But so a big shout out to Public Works crews for, as I say, something new. as if we hadn't had enough something news this year already. But anyway, they did a great job.
There's a sign on our mountain that says, "Watch for falling rock." And when I was young, my dad would say, "Yeah, that's the name of a person who's going to come down and attack you." So I was like, "Oh." Well, I was always scared. Watch for falling rock. It's like, God, Mr. Rock, he's on it. I know, but it's back open now. It's back open now. Oh, yeah, you can take the short way home. Yeah, okay. All right, with that, we are adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.